Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll see what happens. We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I am a dissident.
Don't move. Vote.
I'm saying no. Why you hear Palantir, 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 Palantir? It's not going to stop.
Seriously, we need to release the F-scene list.
Turns off.
I am not a church boy.
Turns off.
They're full-on vampires.
They hate our beef. They hate our beef. They hate our beef because our beef is beautiful and theirs is weak.
Not good. Believe me, not good.
Hello, dissidents. Welcome, one and all, to a Sunday evening edition of the Do Dissidents podcast. My name is Keaton Weiss. Thanks, everybody, for being here tonight. Great crowd to start things off. Look at that. We got 1,000 strong filing in on YouTube already, 358 over on Rumble. Please smash that like button for us. Let's get an even bigger crowd in here. Of course, Russell is overseas. You all know where Russell is right now. He is on his group tour of China with an American group tour, doing red-blooded American things over there in China. But I have a terrific guest joining me for the program this evening. We've been seeing a lot of his work lately on X. We've been featuring a lot of his banger tweets. He is a political commentator. He is the host of Liberty Lockdown on YouTube, Rumble, as well as your favorite podcast platforms. Pleasure to welcome to the program for the first time, Clint Russell. Clint, great to meet you.
Russell's not out of the country. He's still here. I got you guys.
Okay. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Well, it's nice to meet you, man. I love your backdrop. I thought that was San Diego because you got the Padres hat on all the time, but
yeah.
You are a refugee from California. Is that correct?
Yep. That's what radicalized me. I am a lockdown refugee.
A lockdown refugee. That's right. So, I think many of our audience are familiar with you and your work, but some may not be, since we swim in slightly different circles. We're more in the lefty lane and you're more in the libertarian lane. But we're both against child sex trafficking in World War III. So, hey, that's something, right? So could you just tell us a bit about your show and how you got into this space? You want to flesh out a few more of those details about how you got in this crazy independent media game?
Sure. I mean, very, very shorthand version of it. I'm a second generation libertarian. My dad was a libertarian, taught me about, Mises Rothbard when I was growing up in the 90s. And so when Ron Paul came around, I was obviously thrilled to see someone who was popularizing my ideas. He was then, blacklisted and abused by the media and the political apparatchiks. And I immediately was radicalized further against the duopoly. And then the lockdowns happened. I was running a mortgage company at the time, was very successful, retired because I could no longer, project economically forward. And then I started the podcast as just a mechanism to venting, and it's become what it is. So it's weird arc, but that's what happened.
Yeah, well, I mean, it took off fairly quickly, I guess. I mean, you made a big name for yourself, big enough to appear at the Libertarian Convention in 2024. This was a big moment. You were on stage here with Dave Smith and Vivek Ramaswamy. There was, of course, a big pitch that Trump made to the Libertarian Party for their endorsement. And so there was a big debate at the time whether libertarians should support Donald Trump or not. So here you were at the time.
We should not have.
Okay,
but keep going.
Hindsight's 2020 for all of us, man. But here at the time, you were expressing your reservations about that, and this went over really well in the room. So here's you on stage with Vivek Ramaswamy.
too, a few things that drew some boos. What do you think, Clint, is like the biggest obstacle for most of these people in the room, if you could speak on their behalf or for yourself, that is what you just can't get over the hump to say, okay, I can swallow this pill that we may agree on some issues with Donald Trump. Certainly all the right people hate him, but I can't find myself pulling the lever for him.
It's interesting because I was thinking about that right before we came out here, and it was actually a tagline in your speech about turning words into action. The issue has been that the GOP, throughout my entire life, has not turned words into action. They haven't. They've promised to defend. They've promised to defend the Constitution. When? I'm going to die before they do it. I mean, this is my deep-seated concern. They also talk about limited government. They talk about ending the wars. They talk about bringing our troops home. When? It's not happening. So the reason the Libertarian Party is as viable as it is, the reason that Donald Trump and yourself and even RFK are here this weekend is because the election margins are so thin that you guys need us. And I appreciate that you're willing to come and talk to us because there's not real animus, particularly between you and I. I have a tremendous amount of respect for you. But there is a tremendous amount of animosity between myself and the GOP, who has ran around talking as if they're Ron Paul and then governing as if they're John McCain. That's a first. Thank you.
So that really brought the house down. So tell us what happened after that. So did you eventually support Trump, and can you kind of lay out whether you did or didn't the timeline of the sort of Trump libertarian love story, how it started through how it ended, assuming it's pretty much over at this point? I mean, I don't really see any libertarians, even like, Angela McCarthy. I don't see anybody really pumping him at this point.
Nah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there was ever a full-on love story, but I basically caved like 1 week before the election. I just said, look, I think that the proxy war in Ukraine is so dangerous that we've got to punish the Democrats. Like, they have to lose. So that was really what made me conclude it. It wasn't that I was buying into the hype as to Trump being some, cost-cutting small government maven or anything like that. But I did appreciate that he hadn't started any major wars in his presidency, and I thought that there was a chance that he was actually interested in negotiating peace with Putin. And I hoped, even though I said in the episode where I announced that I was going to vote for him, I hoped that he was not as much in the employ of Israel as I thought he might be. And I think I said in that episode that, like, worst case scenario with Donald Trump is war with Iran. And we got it. We got it. So.
You're a prophet there. Wow. So, yeah, I mean, it's funny because in the run up to the 2024 election, I voted for Jill Stein for similar reasons, like to punish the Democrats because of the genocide in Gaza. There was a group of Palestinian activists in Michigan whose express intent was to get enough votes for Jill Stein in Michigan to deny Kamala Harris the state and the race. Like, we were very explicit in our intent that, the Democrats need to pay a price for the genocide in Gaza, but also just the whole 4 years in general. I mean, the war in Ukraine, obviously horrible. And, the Biden administration was an administration really defined by censorship, suppression, and war. And so it made everybody desperate to vote for something else. Turned out they voted for censorship, suppression, and war.
Yeah. I guess the only difference is that there's less nuclear weapons involved potentially. But yeah, and the reason I didn't mention Gaza is because I just didn't see Trump as being much better on that than Biden.
Right. Sure.
Obviously, I wanted that to end too. I'm very, very seriously anti-war. But yeah, I mean, the Democrats are a train wreck, and I thought that Trump had a chance of being at least 20% better, and I think he's maybe even now. So I'm very disappointed. I forgot to open up our conversation with Allahu Akbar and Happy Easter, because that's what we do in America now.
Exactly.
I mean, exactly. What an utterly bizarre thing to post on Easter morning.
I saw a tweet today. Could you imagine if Barack Obama had said "Praise be to Allah" on Easter Sunday? Could you imagine the reaction to that?
It would have been less surprising.
Unbelievable, just unbelievable. But we will get into that. We will get into that in due time. But what do you think was the tipping point for a lot of libertarians with Trump? Was it the one big moment, like the first war with Iran, the 12-day war? I know that's when Dave Smith publicly came out and said he should be impeached and removed. Was it the Epstein memo in July? Was it just over time realizing how subservient he was to the Israelis? Was it anti-free speech actions like detaining the student protesters for their anti-Israel opinions? Because all of these seem like grave offenses against libertarianism. When did the dam break, in your estimation?
Yeah, for me, the dam broke when he said, wait, we're still talking about Epstein?
Yeah, that was it.
And he said, go ahead and answer the question if you want, but I just think that we're really wasting our time talking about Epstein. I was radicalized like a light switch when that happened. I was like, oh, this guy is fully compromised. So for me, it was that and the 12-day war. I mean, that was so egregious. And honestly, the Charlie Kirk assassination, his behavior after that, and then the full-blown Iran war was just like, I don't know any libertarian that's still playing footsie with this guy at this point. So it's
interesting. Sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I don't even know where I was going. Go
no,
ahead.
It's okay. No, it's interesting that you mentioned Charlie Kirk. Can you elaborate that on that a bit more? Was it just his demeanor in terms of, hey, look at my ballroom is almost done. Yeah, Charlie Kirk is a great guy. Or was it, because I personally don't know what happened. I don't think any of us can know what happened, but I think there's a lot more to that than they told us. So, when you say the Charlie Kirk assassination, what specifically about that?
Well, it's both. I mean, it's the callousness with which he talks about him, or really the lack of talking about him. He doesn't seem to have any concern with him at all.
Mm-hmm.
It actually reminds me a lot of Butler, Pennsylvania. You know, these are like things you would expect Trump to harp on a lot. He doesn't talk about them at all. And I think that tells you a lot. You know, it's not, you can't trust what Trump has to say, but you can read by what he won't discuss. And to me, that's like a really telling sign as to the true nature behind Charlie Kirk's assassination. Like you said, though, I don't have a firm answer to it. But then it's also just like the obvious betrayal of Charlie's legacy, the fact that he was such an ardent opponent to the war in Iran, that he spent 2 full days during the 12-day war or right before the 12-day war trying to stop it. And then the entire TPUSA kind of psyop that happened afterwards, along with Donald Trump, his entire cabinet, and the broader GOP influencer class. They're all just such traitors.
Yeah, you know, it's really interesting that you mentioned the lack of time devoted to talking about Charlie Kirk. You see that in the Butler thing as well. Like, yeah, it is very telling what they don't want you to focus on. Like, if you remember his State of the Union, he starts the thing off by going on for like 6 or 7 minutes about the hockey team because they won their hockey game. You know, sentence after paragraph, ovation after ovation about the hockey team. Then he mentions Charlie Kirk. He goes to Erica Kirk for like 45 seconds, and that's it. He moves off of it. You know, 7 minutes for the hockey team, 1 minute for the guy who got killed, one of your most ardent supporters, one of your most effective organizers. I mean, whatever anybody thinks of Charlie Kirk, there's no denying he was one of the MVPs of that campaign. It's hard to imagine Trump winning the kind of margins he won with young people, especially young men, without Charlie Kirk. And yeah, hardly a word about it. It was bizarre.
Yeah, and I would imagine that Charlie had a lot to do behind the scenes with booking all of those independent podcast, spots for Trump, just because he had all those contacts. So, yeah, I mean, it's just, to me, it's just egregious. You know, the way that they kind of used and discarded Charlie really radicalized me. And then what I think is happening is a cover up. So that's radicalizing me further. But like I said, I still don't know who did it. Actually, it could have been our government. It could have been foreign intelligence. I'm really not sure. And it could have been. Sorry, I wanted to say Crooks. What's his name? I'm blanking on it.
Oh, well, Crooks was the Butler guy, and then Tyler Robinson is the Charlie Kirk guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So Robinson certainly could have been involved, and I think that there's a good chance that he was, but I just find it very hard to believe that that's all there is to that story. I mean, there's so much weirdness to it. I don't know if you want to get into that. It's very deep. So we can keep moving, but I just overall, And for the record, I disagree with Charlie Kirk on a lot of things. I was not like some huge
so did I, obviously,
Charlie Kirk's supporter by any stretch. But the one thing that really brought him and the Libertarians together is that he seemed to have really learned the lesson of the war on terror, not to the point that Libertarians have, where they're going to actually go against Trump and burn bridges to try and prevent another disaster, because Charlie did not do that after the 12-day war. But privately, he did do that. And I think that speaks highly to his courage and his character, something that everybody else in his organization, unfortunately, including his wife, has not demonstrated to carry that torch forward on. Like, there's just no one doing it.
Yeah, for sure. That and freedom of speech, too. I mean, when the Congressman Mike Lawler, he introduced that anti-boycott bill, making it essentially a criminal act to join international boycotts against Israel. Charlie Kirk and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie, who we're going to talk about in just a minute, they were the three biggest voices leading the charge against that, and the bill got scrapped. The bill was not brought to the House floor. Now there's no big... I mean, there's no big star within the MAGA movement who is speaking out against this war. And you have to imagine he would have. I mean, and certainly TPUSA is not at this point. And I think that is shameful, regardless of their culpability. And I'm not saying they're culpable. I'm saying even best case scenario, they're certainly dishonoring Charlie Kirk's legacy by not speaking out against this war, which we know for a near fact he would have.
Yeah, exactly. I do want to correct one thing, because I still view Tucker Carlson as being MAGA, and he's been about as outspoken as anybody and as successful as anybody in the right-wing commentariat when it comes to, opposing this war and really criticizing Trump in a very effective manner. So, but yes, which is also why I pray for Tucker Carlson daily, and I'm very careful that they're going to take him out too.
That is true. Like, it's hard to determine now who's MAGA or who not. Like when CNN came out with that poll, 100% of MAGA Republicans support Trump. Well, I guess if you still call yourself MAGA, maybe that means you support Trump. Like Candace Owens was MAGA at some point.
Right.
She just tweeted out before we went on air, this is a satanic administration. 6:24 p.m.
Yeah.
She just fired
she
that
doesn't
one
play
off.
around.
So,
I love it. I mean, and for the record, I don't agree with a lot of the things that Candace has done in terms of this investigation. Even though I think that it's been very valuable, some of the things she's highlighted, but I love her courage. I mean, I love how much of a fire, just a blowtorch she really can be. And I'm the same with Tucker Carlson. I disagree with him, particularly on economics a lot. But I just love the fact that he seems to be seriously committed to this path in a way that I did not expect at all. And maybe I'm biased because he's scare quotes platformed my good friends, Dave Smith and Scott Horton. And that's convinced me that he's the real deal and not a CIA plan or something like that. But, they're convinced. So I'm convinced for now.
Well, if the CAA is writing that referral against them, we'll see if that comes down the pike. That'll be a big tell. One guy who has shown a lot of courage is Thomas Massie. You have been a vocal supporter of his, especially now since Trump is coming after his seat. Massie, of course, now being primaried by Ed Gallrein, who was handpicked by Trump, and obviously the AIPAC class to try and boost Thomas Massie. So here's a video that you shared. You said, Money Bomb drops on March 30th. I'm all in. This is a few minutes long. We won't play the whole thing, but you do have a cameo in it. So we'll play some of this, and then we'll talk about it a little bit.
Receiving end of some vicious stuff. That, of course, is Thomas Massie.
The rift between Congressman Thomas Massie and President Trump is getting much more serious.
The president's really mad at Thomas Massie right now, yes. But Thomas Massie is not bought and paid for.
Thomas Massie can't be bought, just like Ron Paul couldn't be bought.
I sometimes call him the Ron Paul of Congress. We call him Rand Paul Jr.
What he represents is an independent voice within the Republican Party who believes in balanced budgets, low taxes, and less foreign war.
We were tired of endless wars in the Middle East and tired of wars in Eastern Europe.
There's a big deal of overlap with President Trump on that.
All of the things that MAGA explicitly voted for.
Do I prefer a neoconservative pro-war Republican over Massie? Hell no, I don't.
He is actually representing a lot of the people in the MAGA base who are saying, we don't want this war.
He's a bit of a rogue guy.
Since Ron Paul left Congress, I've been saying publicly that Thomas Massie is the best congressman in the country.
this moron. We got to get rid of this loser.
If you attack me, I'm probably going to dig in. I'm not bullied.
He's honest and he's tough.
Fighting against the cover-up of the Epstein files. That's what Thomas Massie's doing, and Trump calls him a loser for it.
The guy is a national hero at this point.
They're treating him like he's treasonous.
They love voting no. They think it's good politically. The guy's polling at about 9%.
No, you're talking about someone that is beloved in Kentucky.
He's certainly been successful here in the district.
His no-nonsense libertarian flair has made him a Kentucky fan favorite since 2012.
This is how we really truly drain the swamp.
I'm with Thomas Massey and Ro Khanna. Let's go, baby.
This might be one of these last stages where all of a sudden truth breaks out.
Ron Paul raised big bucks and some major eyebrows with a very successful one-day internet fundraising drive. It's amazing.
It's being called a money bomb. That's what his supporters call it, his money bomb.
It's a one-day record for internet donations. Paul lags in the polls, but he has inspired a devoted following.
It was astounding, and it astounded the media and gave us a lot of credibility.
And who are his supporters? Well, they're Republicans, they're Democrats, they're independents, they're young people, old people, anybody who is disenchanted with the candidates now in the lead.
I don't hold grudges against anybody.
You know, you could say I disagree with Thomas Massey, but if you think Thomas Massey is the problem,
You are the problem.
I couldn't agree more.
He's fighting back, and he has some arguments that are pretty strong.
I think I'm going to donate money to Massey's campaign.
Okay, I wouldn't go that far.
Why?
It would be a tragedy if they get away with lying through their teeth about Thomas Massey.
It's very necessary that these money bombs be successful.
All right. I said I wasn't going to play the whole thing, but I lied. Couldn't find a good place to stop. So there are areas where, I have, ideological differences with Massey, but I think big picture, and I DM'd you this in part of my pitch to bring you on, because I think part of the purpose of this conversation is, I think, to communicate that, like, big picture, we do need not only a real anti-war movement in this country, but I do think we need like an actual like liberty movement now too. You could just feel a tension in the air, like we haven't felt in a very long time. When Theo Von asked Joe Rogan the other day, "Are we going to be okay?" Like there's just a sense of precarity hanging over everyone's heads. And look, I think there are a lot of peoples around the world. Palestinians live with that sense of precarity every day. Cubans live with that sense of precarity every day. People in this country have lived with that sense of precarity every day. Poor people, racial outgroups, all that. But now I think everybody's feeling it. And I think that's part of the shock of this era. And so while I do have my disagreements with Massey, I think I could voice them to his face without him sicking ice on me or calling me a terrorist or putting me on a list or something. I respect that greatly about him, and his leadership on the Epstein files has been great. His stance on Gaza has been very strong as well. So how important is this primary? And do you think he will ultimately prevail?
Well, I'll start with yes. It's I think he's going to prevail, but that doesn't mean anybody should rest on their laurels. Whether you have disagreements with Thomas Massey about economics or whatever your different disagreements are, I think he's one of, if not the only, honorable person in Congress right now. So I would highly encourage people to open up their wallets and support the guy. We raised $350,000, which for a primary campaign in the GOP is like a normal campaign budget, but this is not a normal race. They are putting up an estimated like $24 million to try and primary him out of office. At least that's what they've allotted to try and take him out. I don't know if they haven't spent that much yet, but they have spent like $5 or $6 million already. So this is going to be probably the most expensive congressional race in the country, and maybe the most expensive primary race ever. It's just astronomical. So yeah, I think he's super important. I think he is the heir apparent to Ron Paul, and I think he's been about as pure and as cogent anybody in politics in the past decade since Ron Paul himself. So I think he's great, and I love the fact that he's creating kind of this coalition. Anna Kasparian was in that promo with me and Dave Smith and all these like hardcore libertarians, and I love kind of her exasperated breaking down into
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna donate to this guy. And it's like, yeah, I get it. That's kind of how I feel about Ro Khanna, even though when he talks about a billionaire tax, I want to pull whatever hair I have left out. But yeah, I mean, we need honorable people to do honorable things. So,
well, I support a billionaire tax, but I'm willing to support Thomas Massey as well. Yes, I understand. But no, it is interesting. I think, ultimately, I think what you're getting at here is something very fundamental, which is, okay, do we have control over our government? Yes or no? Because if we don't have control over our government, if our government is completely unresponsive, then it doesn't matter what I think about a billionaire tax versus what you think about a billionaire tax.
Bingo.
The only reason the only thing that gives our debates meaning is if we actually are able to exert control over the political system. Once that's gone, we can argue all day about a billionaire tax. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I made that point on my most recent episode, almost verbatim. I was like, why does any of this matter? Why do our disagreements matter at all? If our government is controlled by crony corporations and foreign governments, but really specifically Israel, then who cares? Who cares about our disagreements when it comes to economic policy? We're not getting any of that anyways. We're not abolishing the Federal Reserve. We're not getting rid of the income tax. We're probably, maybe we'll get some of the tax programs that you guys want because the state likes to grow. But aside from that, well, by the way, this is actually why I think you guys should agree with us on this, is if you agree that we don't have any control over our government, why should we be giving it more resources? But anyways, yeah, I think that's exactly right, though, is that we don't have control over our government. We're constantly delivered a poo-poo platter of options that is literally poo-poo. So I don't know. I don't know what else we're supposed to do other than to come together and support truly independent candidates, the ones that have demonstrated that they are reviled by the establishment. And I don't think that there's anybody more reviled than Thomas Massey.
Yeah, absolutely. And I felt that way in 2016. I didn't vote for Trump in 2016. His politics were never my politics, and so I never supported him. But I was rooting for him to win when Hillary became the nominee just because of how she ascended to the nomination. I was a Bernie guy, and it was so obvious that they cheated that I thought to myself what I just said to you now. If they can just steer a woman like this to the nomination and just install her as president, then what difference does it make what any of us think? Our debates have no meaning.
Yep. So same dynamic with Kamala, though, in 24.
Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah, it was the exact same phenomenon. It was, even more egregious.
It was, yes, way more egregious. More egregious. This was a person who they clearly wanted to be the successor to Hillary Clinton. They ran her in 2020. She couldn't stick around long enough to get a single vote. So they install her as VP, and then 3 months before the election, he drops out and she's the nominee. It was outrageous. It was insane. And this is why the hand-wringing about the threat to democracy that Donald Trump posed just never was able to land with so many people, because the Democrats functioned in such an anti-democratic way that you could not take seriously their hand-wringing about what a threat to democracy Trump is. And in Trump's first term, he really wasn't a threat to democracy. I think he is now. But in the first term, when you think about it, in 2020, if he wanted to just end democracy, declare martial law, and become a dictator, you had an airborne toxic event and coast-to-coast race riots. If that's not pretext to just say, you know what, we're shutting this all down, I'm King Donald, fuck you, that's it, no election. That was the pretext to do it, and he didn't do it. Well, so I didn't really have a reason to believe that he would be, frankly, as bad as he is now.
Oh, exactly. I think it's funny, even though you come more left and I come more right, but it's we analyze this identically. That's exactly how I felt about him. I didn't vote for him in 2016. I cheered on from the sideline because I hate neocons and I hate Hillary Clinton, or neoliberals, whatever. She's more of a neocon.
Same thing, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So when he got in there and he didn't start any major wars, I thought, all right, well, this guy's better than the other ones. He's not great by any stretch. And then 2020 rolls around and it was all right, well, I studied that very deeply because of the nature of my show being Liberty Lockdown. I was really diving into the research, the behind the scenes, trying to figure out all right, is this guy in on it or is he being duped? And I really came to the conclusion that he was duped. So now I have to reassess all that too. Maybe he wasn't, but I really did think he was duped into the lockdowns thing. So anyways, long story short, by the time, after you watch the FBI spy on him illegally, they frame him for treason with the Russians. There's all these other things that and the media, apparatchiks are going after him 24/7. You just have to come to the conclusion, all right, maybe this guy is really independent. Maybe he's really, even though I disagree with him on a ton of things, right. I'm not a tariff guy, but maybe he's for real. And then they try to kill him, right. You're like, all right, he's for real. Yeah, he's got to be for real at this point. And I was wrong. Funny story. I actually was on a panel the day of Butler with myself, Brett Weinstein, Angela McArdle, and Kash Patel, who went on to be the head of the FBI.
Wow.
And it was called, the name of the panel was called How to Defeat the Deep State.
Wow.
And, it's just a confluence of factors, but it's you're sitting up there with a guy who then goes on to be the head of the FBI, and his whole claim to fame is that he's going to, go after the deep state, and that he's really big on this whole Epstein thing. Dan Bongino's the same way, and RFK Jr. is talking about, health freedom and going against the vaccine mandates and vaccine schedule for that matter. And Donald Trump is the president of peace, and JD Vance is feeding us some, Austrian talking points here and there. Elon Musk is doing the same thing. And it's just you've got, and then Vivek Ramaswamy, who came on my show and I got to debate, and, it's there's just so many reasons to think that there's a chance, at least there's a chance that this is real. And it just all wasn't. It just all wasn't. And I guess the biggest question for me at this point is was it fake from the beginning? Has this been an operation essentially to get him back into power from a bunch of very intelligent actors that actually targeted and weaponized the libertarian voting bloc, as minimal as it is, to their ends? Or were some of these people true blue and they just all got in there and they all blackmail, bribed, whatever. It's impossible for me to really dissect. And just one other quick story. I also met and talked with Donald Trump Jr. for an hour before I was on Tim Cust IRL a year and a half, 2 years ago. And he was so red-pilled in private. You're
wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, you're talking to this guy, and I was talking to him. I've always said it was off the record, so I'm not going to give any details as to what he said. But I was talking about the Las Vegas shooting, and I'll just leave it at that.
Right.
I'm this guy is, he's not one of us per se, but he's closer. So anyways, I'm just saying all of these little anecdotal stories to express or explain why I thought that there was a chance that this was real, and none of it was.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there were probably elements of that were real in the moment as far as they went. But I think the overarching problem that just became insurmountable in the long run was that the guy is just completely owned by Israel. And that's a segue into this next piece. So I want to show, this is a tweet that you made recently. This is regarding the Iran war. Every American casualty, every plane lost, every death, every child left without a parent, every dollar spent, every cost of living increase, every hardship that this war creates. All of it is on Trump and his inability to be a man and to just tell Netanyahu to fuck off. So here is Jon Kiriakou, former CIA officer, fleshing out this point here of just how controlled by Israel Trump is, making the point that Trump is not the first president that Israel insisted bomb Iran on their behalf, but he's the first one who couldn't tell him no.
Yep.
In all the years that I was in the CIA, no matter who the Israeli prime minister was, every single time an Israeli prime minister came to Washington, no matter who the president happened to be, the Israelis would say, please help us bomb Iran. Please help us bomb Iran. Please help us bomb Iran. And the presidents always said no until this one. I think that President Trump was duped by Benjamin Netanyahu, and now we're in a war that is not ours from the beginning, and that we cannot win. And this is another thing, too. My own experience in the CIA and at some of the highest levels of government. I was the executive assistant to the CIA's deputy director throughout the Iraq war. There's never an exit strategy. It's easy to attack a country. It's easy to overthrow a government. But then what do you do? That's the hard part.
And he makes essentially the same point here, goes into a little more detail. This is a clip of Kiriakou on the Megyn Kelly show.
Years that I was in the CIA, literally every time an Israeli prime minister came to the United States, and they come all the time, regardless of who happened to be the president, whether it was Ronald Reagan all the way into Donald Trump's first term, every single Israeli prime minister would come and say, please bomb Iran, please bomb Iran, please bomb Iran. And every president would say, no, we're not going to bomb Iran, until this president. And the Israelis from 1986, the Israelis have been saying that the Iranians were 6 months away from a nuclear bomb. Just simply not true. The CIA in the last 20 years has written 2 national intelligence estimates. Now, this is a sense of the entire intelligence community, concluding both times that the Iranians did not have a nuclear weapons program.
So it seems like what Kiriakou is saying there is that Trump was the only guy who Israel could convince to do this. Convince, in air quotes, of course, since they have their own ways of convincing people to do things. So this seems strong evidence to me that not only is Israel calling the shots, but that they needed someone as under their thumb as Donald Trump to get the war they always wanted. Now, there's another school of thought, which is being sort of debated on X right now. I'm sure you've run into this debate in your own circles, which says that, no, Israel is our puppet and they're following our lead because really it's Washington who wants this war, and that to blame Israel is somehow to let Washington off the hook. So where do you land in that debate?
Well, I'll give a straight answer and then I'll give a nuanced answer. Straight answer is this is Israel's war, like crystal clear. Nuanced take is that the people that argue that there are people, they're not entirely wrong. I mean, there are elements that are in the military industrial complex, et cetera, that donate to politicians, that have lobbying, activities that are trying to get politicians to fight these wars, but they are fighting these wars for Israel. Like, let's be clear about that. So, I mean, you don't have to just take Kiriakou's word for it. If you don't believe Joe Kent, then you can dig into the actual history of the Iraq War to find out how that all played out. I mean, the Clean Break memo is huge. PNAC, Project for a New American Century.
Yep.
All the guys that got into George Bush Jr.'s White House.
Yep.
It's crystal clear that this was a, Jewish American / Israeli Jewish movement to essentially use our military to destroy all of Israel's enemies and to enable them to take Palestine,
and beyond. Yeah.
Well, sure. It's expanded now because it's been so successful.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure that they actually expected that they could go further than just taking Palestine, but they are now expanding into like full Greater Israel projects. So, I mean, to me, it's like, it's just laughable that we even have to debate this. It's very frustrating, and I feel bad for Dave Smith because that's now his career, is he has to go around talking to water-carrying hacks like Coleman Hughes to explain, just because the West Clark 7 isn't an open and shut case as to whether or not that actually was, provable, that he saw that was a plan. We went and we took over those 7 countries. Did he guess that?
Right.
Come on, man. And then you add in all of the other things that we just talked about. And there's so much more. You can get to Mearsheimer, and it's like there's just ample evidence to be completely convinced that Israel is dictating our foreign policy, particularly when it comes to the Middle East. But I think it also has its tendrils, no anti-Semitic intention, into
it has its hooks and its horns into other things. Yeah,
that's better. I got to be safe. But the Venezuela war, man, they were also supportive of the Gazans. So it's like, I think that they have sway that is really incalculable. I mean, it's astronomical. I mean, they were deporting college students for speaking out against Israel. It's like, I just don't know how. And I'm not fond of many of the college progressives. I mean, many of them would like to see me tortured, but I still want them to be able to speak freely. So I don't know. It's all madness. And then the obvious op that we've witnessed in terms of taking over the influencer class. You know, the skin suiting of MAGA and skin suiting of America First is so egregious and obvious to me, because I was actually like deep in the weeds when I was watching all these people that were pushing the Kamala Harris as the president of war, you know, or the candidate of war, and Trump is the president of peace, and gas is going to be cheaper and no more wars. And then they all flip on a dime. And I know for a fact that these people are getting paid. Like, I know it. So it's an op, and there's like major money going into it. And then you do the research, you find out about Project Esther, and you realize that there's tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions, if not God knows how much money that's going into propaganda campaigns that are specifically targeted towards the American people on the behalf and benefit of Israel, a foreign government. And then you look into FAR filings and you recognize that, like, basically the only country that's able to do this without running against the law seems to be Israel. And it's just the double standards over and over again. It just keeps coming up and coming up and coming up. And then once you understand the origins of the war, of the wars for my entire adult life, and if you don't know all the history, then you can go read Scott Horton's great books. He'll lay it all out for you. But I mean, it's just like, this is not a debate. Israel is running the show. I realize it doesn't make sense because we're the big and powerful and rich country, but it doesn't change the fact that the actions don't make sense unless you actually attribute them to being driven on behalf of Israel.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And the clean break memo highlights Iraq and Syria. Syria was, of course, necessary to knock off before the Iran war, because Syria was the most formidable country in the Middle East, like militarily, who could have fought this war off on the Iranian side. And so, it was, or at least be a stalwart against that kind of expansion. So it really, when you put everything together, RFK called Israel our aircraft carrier. And it may be true that there is a strategic influence, a strategic benefit for the West to have a sort of satellite state over there. But at a certain point, I think, to deny that Israel is in the driver's seat, especially when it comes to this war, because this war is so suicidally insane. It's not even winnable. Like, there's not even really an imperial interest for us to fight it. We lost it. We lost it in a week. We've clearly lost it already. That's why Trump is melting down now. So, yeah, I mean, I think that debate is just become kind of a really frustrating one. I think that's happening kind of on the left and on the right, this question of a chicken or the egg. Well, whose war is it? They clearly benefit Israel. Go ahead.
Well, and I didn't even talk about the fact that Marco Rubio said it was for Israel, and Donald Trump said it was for Israel, and Pete Hegseth said it was for Israel. It's like, what are we doing here? Like, it's obviously for Israel. Yes, it was for Israel's defense. Defense. Defense after they aggress, but you know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's totally laughable. And I think that's been kind of the unifying talking point that has allowed for probably you and I to cross over, or me and Anna Kasparian, or Stank, or, Scott and Dave, and all of us, is like, I think that's really the tie that binds, is that we're all recognizing that we don't have sovereignty. And I do want to correct one thing that you said, and it's not your fault, but I think it was, you said RFK said it, that there are aircraft carrier. That's been a very common talking point forever.
Sure.
We don't have bases there. So if there are aircraft carrier, you think we'd be able to do whatever we want, that we'd be stationing our sorties out of there. And it's like, that's not how this goes. Like, we have bases in Bahrain and Kuwait and Saudi and all these other nations, but we don't have, like, that's the other reason, that they're not our pit bull, or that we are their pit bull, is like, we fight their wars. They don't do shit for us. We fund their wars. We arm their wars. We die in their wars. They don't do any of that for us. None of it. And yet people still argue that they're our pit bull. It's like, bullshit, they're our pit bull. We are fighting people that are our enemies only because we've been fighting people that are their enemies forever, and now they hate us. That's as simple as it can get. And it just drives me absolutely insane that we can't just all recognize it for what it is. And I think it just all boils down to the curse of both Christian Zionism and the really successful campaign to convince everybody that any criticism of the nation state of Israel is somehow bigoted hatred of a ethnic minority, whatever. Right. And that whole scam has to die. It has to. So
Well, I mean, I think it is. I mean, it's not working anymore. I mean, fewer and fewer people are even bothering to defend themselves against accusations of anti-Semitism.
It's true.
It's like, I don't even want to hear it. Like, don't even bother me with
in
that.
our world, you're right. But in day-to-day life, I think it's a lot harder for people. Like at the water cooler, you're probably not talking about,
Right. Sure. Yeah. No, I think that's definitely true. All right. I want to talk to you a little bit about the cabinet shakeup here. So Trump weighs broader cabinet shakeup as Iran war pressure grows. U.S. President Donald Trump is considering a broader cabinet shakeup in the wake of Attorney General Pam Bondi's removal this week as he grows increasingly frustrated with the political fallout from the war with Iran, 5 people familiar with internal White House discussions said. Any potential reshuffling could serve as a reset for the White House as it confronts a politically challenging stretch. The 5-week-old war has driven up gas prices, dragged down Trump's approval ratings, and intensified anxiety about the consequences for Republicans headed into November's midterm elections. 3 White House officials and 2 other sources with knowledge of administration dynamics spoke to Reuters on condition of anonymity to discuss sensitive personal matters. The sources did not consistently describe any single cabinet member as certain to lose their job in the near term, but multiple officials are in some degree of danger, they said. Several of the sources said Tulsi Gabbard, Trump's director of national intelligence, and Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick are among those potentially on the chopping block after Trump ousted Pam Bondi and Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem in recent weeks. Trump has in recent months expressed displeasure with Gabbard, said one senior White House official. Another source with direct knowledge of the matter said Trump had asked allies about their thoughts on potential replacements for his intelligence chief. So you have Tulsi Gabbard, Howard Lutnick there on the chopping block, and then the Atlantic magazine reports separately several people familiar with the White House's plans told us there are active discussions about others leaving the administration, including FBI Director Kash Patel, Army Secretary Daniel Driscoll, and Labor Secretary Lori Chavez DeRemer. Now, there have been some different theories as to why Bondi was fired. Do you have any thoughts on that? And who do you think might be the next to go here, since it seems like it's all kind of unraveling pretty quickly?
Well, I would love for Bondi to have been fired for the Epstein cover-up, but the early reporting was that she leaked a potential or like some level of documentation for investigation into Eric Swalwell and his spy fucking. So,
right,
like. I would imagine that she was probably fired because she's just not loyal to the GOP in the way that, or to MAGA, to Trump specifically. I mean, that's really all Trump ever cares about. Are you loyal to him? Do you say nice things about him? Then he loves you. And then obviously I think Tulsi Gabbard is on the chopping block because even though she flip-flopped and ultimately destroyed her legacy by lying about Iran back, I think it was during the summer, when she was being questioned, why, I think it was right after Joe Kent resigned, she basically just like, she wouldn't back up Trump. She wouldn't say that like, yes, they were an imminent threat. Yes, we had to do this. The president made the right decision. She was just like, the president is the only one that can make that decision. She just like kept going back to that. And, as far as Trump's concerned, I think he views that as disloyalty, because she wasn't willing to fully Colin Powell herself,
Right.
So that's my justification for that. I think anybody who's like even a 5% real boy, which is kind of how I view Tulsi, a real gal, don't be mean. They're all in jeopardy. So the reason I think Lutnick hasn't been fired, despite the fact that he was egregiously caught lying about his relationship with Epstein that had extended a decade past when he said it had ended, and had been, numerous occasions when in fact he said, I met that guy once. It's like, bullshit, dude. He was caught red-handed.
Right.
So I think that obviously made him look bad, but I think the reason he wasn't fired already is because I read him as like a handler. Like that's how I view him.
Oh, totally.
I think he is an asset to the Israelis. Personally. So I'd be surprised if he gets fired. If he does get fired, it'll just be ceremonial. I mean, he'll still be shipped off to go make $1 trillion, stabbing Americans in the back.
Well, my friend, Russell, my friend and my co-host, the other half of this project, my friend, I got this friend of mine, Russell Dobular, who tells me, no, he he makes a good point about Lutnick and Scott Bessent, which is these are the cabinet members who like get out in front of Trump every once in a while. Like every once in a while, they'll come out and they'll say, okay, when the jobs come back, people are going to be building robots, or, here's how the tariffs are going to go. Like they will contradict Trump without fear of retribution. And that's a sign that they're actually running it. Or that they're actually a lot higher up than they look. Yeah.
You know who else does that? Mark Levin. Mark Levin does that too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's something about the Jewish, orbiters to Trump and how they're the only ones that like get to basically safely one up him. And Netanyahu's the most egregious of all. I mean, he can do whatever he wants. Trump's like calling for peace. He's saying, bring those planes back. And Netanyahu's just like, fuck you. I'm going to bomb them. And then we'll talk about it after. And Trump will get, momentarily publicly upset. And then he immediately reverts to baseline where he's just like, no, Netanyahu's great leader. Well, you should pardon him from his corruption. It's like, this guy is so compromised. It's unbelievable. I don't even know where I was going with that, but it's just true.
Well, no, it's true that even like the cabinet itself has been largely circumvented to the point where, this is why I thought what Joe Kent did was so significant and so heroic, and not just significant and heroic, but very prudent and very effective from a self-serving standpoint. Like Joe Kent has a future in politics if he wants it right now, because he stood on principle and he quit. And if Tulsi Gabbard wants a future in politics, she'll do the same thing. I think her window has pretty much closed now that we're a month into the war. I don't know if there are too many people who would give her too much credit at this point. But Joe Kent did it when it mattered, when it counted. And same for J.D. Vance. The reporting is that he's against this war. Well, too bad, man. Too bad, man. Like nobody's voting for you now. Like you're done. If you see the betting odds of his presidential prospects, I mean, they have just gone straight down. Because, at a certain point, if you're not willing to stand on principle for something this consequential, then how can you be taken seriously? Like, to me, if you're one of these people who you mentioned, the 5% real dealers, they got to quit or else they're a zero.
Yep. No disagreement. I was already very skeptical of both Tulsi, who I've met and talked to a lot, and J.D. Vance, who I've never met. And I was just like, these people, they just seem like climbers. They seem like they'll be principled when it doesn't matter and total sellouts when it does. But I hoped. And then Joe Kent did it. I was like, I was shocked. I really didn't expect that. And, obviously everybody's second guessing him too, and they're trying to smear him. But I think obviously what he did was the right thing to do. Whether or not he's doing it for motives of political, grandeur down the road is really secondary to the fact that he did the fucking right thing when he had to do it. And that does take courage, and he is getting smeared and he is getting investigated. And it's like, he took a major risk. So I God bless him. That's how I feel about it. And as far as I'm concerned, anybody else in this cabinet, not only should you not be in contention for future presidential hopeful, you should be in contention for prison. Like, that's how I feel about all these people. And for the record, that's also how I felt about the Democrats with the proxy war in Ukraine. But anyways.
Well, maybe these ICE jails can be used for, duopoly politicians someday, we can dream, right? Yep. All right, we got big crowd in here, 34-35 in the YouTube chat, 820 on Rumble. We're here with Clint Russell, host of Liberty Lockdown. Go subscribe to his YouTube channel. It's a great show.
Audience is huge.
It's huge. It's huge.
Is that big for you guys? I don't even know.
This is about our standard Sunday night show. It's about our standard Sunday night show. But yeah.
Well, then it wasn't a drop off. That I told you, we just had to have a different Russell in here. We're all good.
That's right. As long as you get a Russell in here, you're good. I want to respect your time. Do you have time to do one more story with me? Do you want to talk about Trump's Easter message?
Yeah, I would love to, man.
His moving Easter message.
I've been venting all day about it. So go ahead if you want to start.
Let's do it. All right, everybody. So Donald Trump had a very heartwarming Easter message this morning. I'm going to let you listen to it from Jake Tapper's mouth here. Now, get your kids out of the room if you have them. If you show your kids this show, then you have bigger things to worry about. But make sure you cover their precious little ears for this. Here's Jake Tapper reading Trump's uncensored Easter message to Iran.
It's just threatened Iran in extraordinary graphic terms, giving the Iranian regime just over a day to either make a deal reopen the Strait of Hormuz, or face hell. If your children are watching, be warned, the president did not use polite language. Quote, Tuesday will be Power Plant Day and Bridge Day, all wrapped up in one in Iran. There will be nothing like it. Open the fucking strait, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. We should note that destroying civilian power infrastructure is generally considered to constitute a war crime under international law, though the president could argue that the infrastructure has dual use and also is utilized by Iran's military. Let's get right to...
I was about to say he was going to have to qualify that somehow because Tapper is one of the biggest Israel apologists in the media. So he had to be like, now you shouldn't bomb civilian infrastructure unless, of course, you know, as he says, it has dual purpose. You know, then, of course, you know, when the Jews do it, you can do right. But yeah, so he has
as if utilities don't always have dual use, as if the military can't use water and electricity. And I mean, come on.
It's a utility. That's why it's called a utility, because it has multiple uses. That's why they're called utilities.
Because it has utility.
Right, because it has broad utility. Exactly. That's why they
By the way, you got to note too, he did not say the last line. He did not say praise be to Allah. I thought that was notable.
Oh, did he omit that?
Living in hell.
Cut it, dude.
Just watch. We should note that destroying
look
civilian
at that. Wow, I didn't even catch that.
Considered
You're right. He skipped
a war crime under
skipped praise be to Allah.
The president could argue.
That's like serving a sundae without the cherry on top. No praise be to Allah. Wow, good catch. I didn't even realize that.
Is he Jewish?
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay, I didn't know. I wonder if that's why he didn't say it. It's interesting.
That could very well be. So yeah, let's read it again. Tuesday will be Power Plant Day and Bridge Day, all wrapped up in one in Iran. There will be nothing like it. Open the fucking strait, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah, President Donald J. Trump. This is like, you know, he's treating the Iranians like a bad improv partner. You know, in improv comedy, the rule is you always say yes. You never say no. That's a block. And I was doing, you know, back in my old theater days, I was doing an improv show with someone who was a nice person. They were a very good actor, but they clearly were not versed in improv. So we're doing an improv scene and the audience shouts out, okay, you're both janitors. And so, all right, so I start sweeping the floor. So I tell him, do me a favor, go sweep up that shit over there. And he says, no, blocks. And I'm like, what the fuck? Now this scene is dead. This scene sucks now. So we go back and forth. I said, sweep the floor. No. So finally, I just scream at him. I say, sweep the fucking floor. And I legitimately scared him, and he went and did it so we could get the scene back going.
Oh,
that's what this reminded me of. Open the fucking straight. Like he keeps telling us to do it. They will not do it. And his only play is to just get louder and louder. And of course, threaten war crime after war crime. So here's Fox News finally having to read this. It took them like an hour to read this. And so here is the Fox News reporter who apparently talked to Trump this morning. So he reveals a few details of Trump's conversation with him. And then
there are bombshells in this, by the way.
Oh, there are. Yeah, we won't get to all of them. But the biggest one, which I don't have queued up on the video, is that Trump claims to have sent weapons to the Iranian protesters.
Yep.
Yeah. After they killed 45,000 of them. He waited till, you know, that's why, right? For reinforcements. Yeah, sure.
That's not true, though.
Exactly. Yeah. So here's Fox News.
Good morning. I just spoke with President Trump for 15 minutes. He gave me some new details on the negotiations behind the scenes with the Iranians and what's going to happen if Iran does not make a good faith deal. The president tells me if they don't make a deal and fast, I'm considering blowing everything up and taking over the oil. The president went on to say you're going to see bridges and power plants dropping all over their country. Now, I asked him about the possibility of an agreement with the Iranians. He says those who are negotiating on behalf of Iran have been granted amnesty at this time so they can continue the talks. And the president tells me he thinks he'll be able to get a deal by tomorrow. He says, I think there's a good chance tomorrow. They're negotiating now. All of this following the president's
at 9 a.m.
post
East
on
Coast
True
time.
Social.
Yeah, right now, exactly. Yeah, no, this tactic of promising to bomb them back to the Stone Age while insisting you're making progress on negotiations, that's worked really well.
It's very key to remember too, though. He makes these threats when the markets are closed, and then he says we're making great progress at 8:59 a.m. East Coast time when the market's open. You know.
That's true. Yeah, because this is supposed to juice the market now. So I don't know, but you're right. Yeah, there you are. Right in the morning.
where he talked about these negotiations with the Iranians. We'll pull this up. He says, quote, Tuesday will be power plant day and bridge day, all wrapped up in one. In Iran, there will be nothing like it. Open the effing straight, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah. The president posting there on True Social about this.
He just brushes past that on Fox News. Praise be to Allah.
Pull this up. He says, quote, Tuesday will be power plant day and bridge day, all wrapped up in one. In Iran, there will be nothing like it. Open the effing straight, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah. The president posting there on True Social about this ongoing operation and his new red line for the Iranian regime. Now, the president also provided new details on what happened earlier this year as the Iranian regime took to the streets and slaughtered what the president tells me is 45,000 civilians in their own country. After that took place, President Trump told me the United States sent guns to the Iranian protesters. He tells me we sent them a lot of guns. We sent them through the Kurds, and the president says he thinks the Kurds kept them.
Yeah, that was the other big soundbite that went far and wide. So, yeah,
Massive,
that was
massive deal.
Yeah, oh, for sure. So Zed Jelani says Trump needs to be removed from office. If J.D. Vance has any integrity left, he would be working to achieve this. The VP can't be fired by the president. Your first responsibility is to God and then to America, not to an insane boss, J.D. Chris Murphy, Democratic senator, said if I were in Trump's cabinet, I would spend Easter calling constitutional lawyers about the 25th Amendment. This is completely, utterly unhinged. He's already killed thousands. He's going to kill thousands more. Yes. Here is the Vermont Congresswoman saying if President Obama or President Biden had said anything remotely like this, it'd be nonstop coverage on every single channel.
To fly under the radar and hope that he doesn't tweet about them or truth about them. It's all about their self-preservation. And so, no, I don't expect that. I would like to see that, but it's usually only just, one or two people in either chamber, and it's usually, very, very muted. This is outrageous behavior from this president. And I know that we've said it before on this show and others that if President Biden or President Obama had said anything remotely like this, it would be nonstop coverage on every single channel, and everyone in the other side of the aisle in the House and the Senate would be howling about it and demanding that they step down. That's the reality. And so, no, they continue to let us down with their lack of courage, with their lack of moral compass. And they're an embarrassment. They're an embarrassment to the country that they represent Americans and yet do not stand up for them.
I take this broad a lot more seriously if she was calling for Biden to be impeached over the Ukraine war. But anyway,
well, of course. I mean, they all play that game. They all play that game for sure.
Well, that's what makes the Libertarians unique. That's what makes Thomas Massie so special, is that he doesn't play that game. That he was in opposition to both of these. So.
I mean, the way the 25th Amendment works, apparently, is the vice president starts the process. So that's why that's why Zed Jelani's calling on Vance, and that's why Chris Murphy said that the cabinet should consult constitutional lawyers. Because the way the 25th Amendment is invoked is the vice president begins the proceeding, then they need a majority of senior cabinet members to sign on, and then if and when the president says, no, I'm not leaving, then it goes to Congress for a vote. At this point, what is the political advantage to not getting him out of office, either through a 25th Amendment mechanism or through impeachment? He's tanking the party. I mean, the polls are just abysmal. One day after another, lower and lower and lower. Like, not only does Trump not really command the Republican caucus anymore, I would argue he's a massive liability to the Republican Party at this point. That became evident during the Epstein files. Once they got the 218th vote to release the Epstein files, what happened? Lots more Republicans were saying they're going to vote to release the Epstein files because now they're getting released anyway, and they want to be on the right side of history and on the right side of the voters come the midterms. So at this point, like, what do you think? Like, isn't it in their interest to try and have Trump removed either through impeachment or the 25th Amendment?
Yeah, it's very clear as to why it's not, is because if you go against him, you're going against AIPAC, you're going against Israel.
Right.
And they will give you the Massey treatment, that they will put up a challenger, or if you already have a challenger in the primary or in the general, they will fund them. So that's the whole reason. it's not about principle. It's not about even like tactical benefit. Like, I think you're right. I think that in terms of like voter popularity, all things being equal, a lot of them probably would abandon the MAGA Trump ship. But because like the money that flows behind any sort of left or right politician who comes out in real defense or objection to Trump or AIPAC or Israel or the warfare state or to the Iran war or Gaza for that matter, that's when you are really, really jeopardized as an incumbent to being thrown out of office. So unfortunately, that seems to be the biggest threat that incumbents face. It's bigger than anything else, basically. So until that changes, I don't know how we're going to actually get enough courageous people to do the right thing.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you're right. I think that has to be the only, if democratic will within America was paramount, then I think these people would see it as in their interest to vote to impeach Trump.
Right.
But obviously, as you mentioned, the will of the people is not paramount. In fact, it's next to meaningless.
It's not secondary. It's not tertiary. It's like
right.
it's irrelevant.
It's irrelevant. Exactly. So here's Adam Kinzinger, who is a total piece of shit, but I got to, I admire a good joke no matter who it comes from. Polymarket 99-1 odds against the president praising Allah on Easter. Trump. Maybe.
Oh man, that sucks. That's a great tweet.
A great joke. Don't you hate it when someone you hate makes a good joke? And makes you laugh?
I hate that so
I
much.
gotta give it to you.
He's one of my least favorite people on earth.
I know,
so that really hurts. That's a great tweet.
He's dreadful, but yeah, man. That's what makes comedy great. Is it's involuntary. You can't help but laugh.
Exactly. Which is why. By the way, it's really funny too, because reading that tweet, I don't think I've ever been more angry at a politician in my life. This morning when I woke up and saw that, but then hearing newscasters have to read it, I was laughing hysterically. I could not stop laughing. So it's an interesting difference.
Well, I saw you tweeted that you thought it was a fake, and I thought it was a fake too. When I first read it, because he doesn't tweet, he truths. So they're all screenshots, so you never know.
Exactly.
So I'm
right.
like, is this real? And then when you see like 20 other people posting, you're like, oh, I guess
no.
Real.
Then it was from some White House associate.
Yeah, the official account. Yeah,
did it. I was like, oh my God. But
just
then one other point I wanted to make about the impeachment question that you were talking about. The other reason that they're not going to do it is because I don't think that they will vote, because they will be told that he is fighting the war we want him to fight, and all of you were basically given a pass on voting on the war powers resolution to allow for you to still go and pretend as if you oppose this war and try and win your primary or win your generals. So shut the fuck up. We can give lip service to CNN or whatever as to how dangerous and insane he is, but when it comes down to the vote, I bet you a ton of Democrats and Republicans would vote to keep him. Tons.
That is a question. I mean, I think Democrats would probably vote to bounce him just because of the political benefit, but Republicans, I mean, it's an interesting question. I mean, I think we'll get that chance. I mean, I think the Democrats are going to win the House and they'll impeach him. So we'll see what happens at that point. But this
I mean, right now before the midterms. If it happens after, then yeah, maybe it'll be different.
Right. Rachel Blevins tweets out Trump has 24 hours before markets open, so he has to get all of his deranged threats out before he comes and backs out and tells you talks are ongoing and Iran is about to capitulate.
That's what I'm talking about.
To distract from the U.S. military's costly mess of a rescue of the downed F-15 pilots. That's the other thing that was so crazy about this is his previous truth was announcing the rescue of the pilot. Okay, so you have something resembling a feel-good story. Not that any of this is feel-good, but he can tout a victory in having recovered the pilot. You'd think he'd want to like cruise on that through the morning shows, right? Let your surrogates go out there and brag about this rescue mission. And no, you step on it with this fucking just unhinged shit. It's just unbelievable. It's really unbelievable.
I mean, a lot of people are saying he's demonically possessed, and I'm like, yeah, maybe. like honestly, it's so deranged. It's almost hard to quantify. Like
he's losing it. I mean, the guy's losing it. I mean, look, he was 70 in 2016. I mean, the difference between 79 and 69, that's not the difference between 35 and 45. You lose a lot in those 10 years, and no, he's clearly not playing with a full deck anymore. So I like Mario.
Something deeply wrong.
Something's going on there. Mario Nawfall says, if I had to take a guess, Trump is not serious with these threats. This is a bluff to force Iran to accept an end to the war. And if it works, this is a rosy-eyed look here. If it works, Trump deserves his flowers for accepting the war didn't go as planned and seeking an off-ramp. Most other presidents may have doubled down, getting stuck in another forever war. That's your read on this, that he's not doubling down? Open the fucking straight or you'll live in hell?
Praise be to Allah.
Praise be to Allah. That this is a sign to you that he's come to his senses? Like, what are you kidding? What is that, a joke? Is this April Fool's Day?
This is what I'm talking about with the bought and paid for influencers. It's pervasive.
I mean, Jesus Christ.
It just drives me absolutely insane. There's no rational read of that says that he's playing for peace. I mean, that's
what the hell, man?
It's about as insane a thing as you can possibly say. And just for the record, just so people know that like I'm not some Trump deranged guy. Like I voted for the dude. I thought that there was a chance he was for real. I recognize that this is like his cadence. This is how he goes about diplomacy, is to talk like a lunatic. He did the same thing with Kim Jong-un. Was it Il-un? I forget. And then he crossed the DMZ and he met with him, and it was like, so that was good Trump. Talk crazy, be a wild card, but then actually be interested in peace. This version of him is talk crazy, be a wild card, have no interest in peace.
Right. Take your actual cues from Mark Levin and talk like a fucking, belligerent drunk, at 3 o'clock in the morning. No, it's unbelievable because when he won in 2016, as much as I said, like I didn't vote for him, but I was rooting for him. And the night that he won, one of my biggest regrets in my life, my friend, I was living in Brooklyn at the time. So New York City is a huge Hillary town. And my friend, who's a big libertarian, just like you, was at a bar in the Village. And he said, come out to this bar, come out to this bar with me. There are all these Hillary people crying. And I'm like, no, man, I was glued to my TV. Like I didn't want to miss anything because to get to the bar would have been like 40 minutes and they didn't have internet on the subway back then. So I would have missed a lot. Like I don't want to miss it when they call it. Like, it's like once in a lifetime. So I didn't go. And I'm like, damn it, I should have fucking gone because that would have been just so much fun to be in their company when he won. So I was rooting for him. But as exciting as it was that he beat Hillary, the thought did cross my mind. I'm like, okay, this is all fun and I'm glad it happened, but this guy is kind of a fucking lunatic. Like, what if he is leading us during wartime? Like, won't that be crazy scary? And luckily the first time it didn't happen, but here we are. Now it's happening. And now I'm thinking about like in 2016, when you stopped and you're like, wait a minute, what if this guy brings us to war? Is this the kind of guy you want leading you? Maybe it won't happen, but now here we are. It's like, that worst case scenario in your head when I had, half a bottle of scotch in me smoking cigars as he's winning. I'm like, yeah, now that worst fear has come true.
I couldn't agree more. And as I said, in the episode where I announced that I was going to vote for him, worst case scenario is war with Iran that spirals into World War III. That's literally what I said. But I said, I think it's 5% chance, not a super high chance. And I was wrong. Just to also explain a little bit more about why I oppose it so deeply, aside from the moral factor, I haven't even talked about, the financial factor, which is really my expertise. My background is as a finance guy. We are jeopardizing the dollar's reserve status like in a way that is outrageously egregious. And what's really fascinating is that many of the Trump water carriers, Con Inc., as I call them, they have been, even some of the ones that are my friends, like Tim Pool, he would argue that, no, we have to do all of these wars in the Middle East because it's about preventing other countries from trading in currencies other than the dollar. And to a certain extent, that was true historically. So I was like, look, I don't agree with it. I don't agree with the empire. I don't agree with the fiat system or the Federal Reserve, but I do understand, how you actually maintain that stranglehold on the financial system, on global trade, so that you can continue to just print and borrow and spend into oblivion, because the only reason that you can is because the money is diffused to the rest of the planet. This is so different. I just really need to, the reason I'm doing this long monologue is I really need to emphasize this to your audience if they're not aware. This is so different because the whole reason that people trade in the US dollar is because we have been the policemen of the world, that we have controlled the waterways. So that has enabled other countries to not have massive expenditures when it comes to defense, because we will lay out that money so that they don't have to. That was the deal. That's the whole petrodollar system. This with the Strait of Hormuz is the most insane thing I've ever seen. I mean, he is just saying, like, everybody for decades knew. You go to war with Iran, first thing they do is shut down the strait. Everybody knew this.
Right.
Now, afterwards, Pete Hegseth and Trump and others, there's reports saying no one told him this. It was impossible for anyone to foresee this coming. But the point that I'm trying to get to is the fact that the president of the United States would come out and say, we don't need the strait. You guys need this, is just like, it's announcing to the world that you have to start trading in things other than the dollar. That's what he's saying. And I just, for the life of me, there is no tactical angle to that makes sense. Everything that we've done, if you buy into that thesis, the petrodollar hypothesis when it comes to our foreign policy, none of this makes sense. And I just wanted to give this kind of cherry on top of the sundae as to why I know this is for Israel, because there is no way any president would be doing what he's doing, especially when it comes to the Strait of Hormuz, because it is jeopardizing our entire financial system and therefore our entire empire, not just the GOP, not just Trump's legacy. The dollar's purchasing power is imperiled existentially. And you only do that if you're working for somebody else. And he is.
Yeah. No, I think that is extremely well said. And I think it was also, I mean, all you had to do, you didn't need anybody to tell you, Pete Hegseth. You just had to look at a map. Look at how long the Iranian coastline is. Look at what it sits on.
Look at the fucking mountain ranges, you imbecile.
Yeah. Exactly.
This is Afghanistan on steroids. I mean, it's the craziest thing we've ever done. It really is. I mean, it's right up there. I have to immediately walk that back because we did lock down the world over a man-made pathogen, and we also had a proxy war with the two largest nuclear powers on Earth, and we didn't even pick up the phone to talk to each other. So it's a high bar, but I think this might be the highest. I mean, we just keep going dangerously closer to the edge.
I think floored. It's easily the worst decision an American president has made in our lifetimes. Like, I think the COVID response was a sort of cascading bureaucracy, that just kind of just ballooned. This is like, okay, you're the executive. You say yes or no to invading Iran. Trump's decision to say yes is the worst decision by any president in our lifetime, I think. I think there's no question about that.
And it's really remarkable, too, because a lot of the commie quarter carriers are coming out and saying they're taking that clip or that quote about how every president got the same intel and every president said no, and only Donald Trump was the brave enough to do it. Yeah. It's like, you fucking idiots. You should read that the exact opposite. Every other president was lied to and said that Iran was days away from nukes, and every other president said, you're lying Zionist propagandists, and I'm not going to do this and ruin my fucking legacy. And every president was right to say no. And he was the first one dumb enough to say yes. And you're gonna tout that as him being courageous, you imbeciles. I can't believe these people can even function in life. I don't understand it.
Yeah. No, you're no argument there. So I hate to feature Michael Tracy unironically, but I have to because the Wall Street Journal article was paywalled and he found this. So Trump thinks the people of Iran want him to bomb their power plants and bridges. So this is an interview that the Wall Street Journal released with Trump today. It says, but we are in a position that's very strong, and that country will take 20 years to rebuild if they're lucky, if they have a country, he said. And if they don't do something by Tuesday evening, they won't have any power plants and they won't have any bridges standing. Asked if he's concerned the people of Iran, a country of 93 million people, could suffer if civilian infrastructure is hit, Trump said, no, they want us to do it, arguing the Iranian people are living in hell. No, they want us to commit war crimes against them and bomb their bridges and their power plants. I mean, like I said, this is just truly unhinged. I mean, he's gone. He's toast. I mean, his brain is soup at this point.
Even the Hodge twins are like, is Trump okay?
Even the Hodge twins, well, they point out a good thing. Is Trump okay? I thought he said the strait wasn't our problem. Right. Yeah, that's right. This was March 31st. This was 5 days ago. Yep. It feels like 2 years ago by now, but this was this is not even a week ago.
He was saying it on the 1st and 2nd too.
Yeah, no, just like a few days ago. He's saying all the countries that can't get jet fuel because of the Strait of Hormuz, like the UK, which refused to get involved. I have a suggestion for you. Number 1, buy from the U.S. We have plenty. And number 2, build up some delayed courage, go to the strait and just take it. You'll have to start learning how to fight for yourself. The USA won't be there to help you anymore, just like you weren't there for us. Iran has been essentially decimated. Excuse me. The hard part is done. Go get your own oil, President DJT. So less than a week ago, he's saying we're not getting involved in reopening the Strait of Hormuz. Go get your own oil. And now it's open the fucking strait or we're going to, like, it is
on Easter
madness.
Morning, by the way.
On Easter morning.
I'm just disappointed that he didn't open or end all of these tweets with Allahu Akbar just to really drive home how nuts he is.
Exactly. So Covey says the fucking strait was fucking open before he fucking started the bomber run. That's the thing. You're playing just to get back to even. Like in gambling, they call this chasing it. You sit down at the table, you lose a bunch of money, and you spend all night desperate to get it back. And you usually just end up losing more. Like at this point, the objective is to get back to even. It's just insane.
Definitional sunk cost fallacy. I mean, that's all this is at this point.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you know, people keep saying like, I don't think any of these people understand anything. You know, it's like I don't have a military background, but at least I've read. You know, like I understand that you cannot take the Strait of Hormuz unless you have a permanent force that is able to put up a defensive barrier of some enormous size that's going to be able to keep these boats from being attacked, because it doesn't require, you don't have to have like a functioning military to shut down a waterway of this size. You have to have like RPGs and AK-47s just coming out from the shore and then going back into a bunker. Like you can, and not to mention, obviously they have missile capacity that can do it, then drone capacity that can do it. I mean, if you don't come to an agreement with Iran, I don't know how you reopen the strait. I genuinely don't. And like, other than full-on invasion, million-plus force, draft, like you've got to go all the way, or you nuke them. I mean, these are his options, and it's like none of this had to happen. We didn't have to be here at all. You're overtly doing this on behalf of the donor class or whoever's got a literal gun held to your head. What really pisses me off is that like the other people who maybe aren't like literally existentially threatened right now, that they're not coming out and going like, he's under threat. He's under duress, whatever. His sons, man. It's just, I don't know. I lost my dad in October this year or last year. And it's just like, and my dad was kind of losing his mind at the end. And it just totally reminds me of, you know, that feeling. And it's like, how does Don Jr. or Eric not go, either go to their dad and try and take his phone away, take his car keys away, or go to the media? I mean, or something. Like, I don't know. It's really scary. We're living through dangerous times.
It's absolutely terrifying. It's terrifying. So Donald Trump says now Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time. So I guess he extended the deadline a little bit. Again, maybe that's to give the markets some room to breathe. But no, just absolutely terrifying. So Marjorie Taylor Greene reacted to Donald Trump's Easter tweet. Once again, his Easter tweet: Tuesday will be Power Plant Day and Bridge Day all wrapped up in one in Iran. There will be nothing like it. Open the effing strait, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah, President Donald J. Trump. So Marjorie Taylor Greene had a very strong response to this. She says, on Easter morning, this is what President Trump posted. Everyone in his administration that claims to be a Christian needs to fall on their knees and beg forgiveness from God and stop worshiping the president and intervene in Trump's madness. I know all of you and him, and he has gone insane. All of you are complicit. I'm not defending Iran, but let's be honest about all this. The strait is closed because the U.S. and Israel started the unprovoked war against Iran based on the same nuclear lies they've been telling for decades, that any moment Iran would develop a nuclear weapon. You know who has nuclear weapons? Israel. They are more than capable of defending themselves without the U.S. having to fight their wars, kill innocent people and children, and pay for it. Trump threatening to bomb power plants and bridges hurts the Iranian people, the very people Trump claimed he was freeing. On Easter of all days, we as Christians should be reminded that the Son of God died and rose from the grave so that we can be forgiven once and for all of our sins. Jesus commanded us to love one another and forgive one another, even our enemies. Now, here's where she really goes for the throat. Our president is not a Christian, and his words and actions should not be supported by Christians. Christians in the administration should be pursuing peace, urging the president to make peace, not escalating war that is hurting people. This is not what we promised the American people when they overwhelmingly voted in 2024. I know I was there more than most. This is not making America great again. This is evil. So that is perhaps as hard as she's ever gone against Donald Trump, saying he's not a Christian. I mean, of course, she's taken a lot of this personally as someone who has not only supported Trump for a long time, but really dug in to defend him when even all of Washington was against him, including his own party. I remember the day after January 6th, maybe it was a day or 2 days after, Lindsey Graham was ready to wash his hands of Trump. He said, yeah, there's some good things that he did, but I'm done. And she was wearing COVID masks that said Trump won on them. Like, she was as loyal as you could be through the worst of it, through when it looked like Trump was never going to have any kind of comeback story to tell. And for her to come out and now say he's not a Christian and that this is evil, that's probably her most damning statement against him ever. What do you think about that?
Well, I completely agree with your assessment, but I'll just add that she's 100% right. Like, he is not a Christian. And I think that it's important that people who are come out and say that. Like, he's not behaving in a Christian manner. And I think that this is really the bastardization of Christianity that has radicalized Tucker Carlson into becoming what I consider to be an anti-war activist at this point. Like, he is really radicalized by watching people skin suiting his religion and then espousing death and destruction on behalf of that religion. He is like fucking furious about it. This is what he got in a lot of trouble a month ago or a couple months ago for saying there's no one he hates more. This is Tucker Carlson. There's no one he hates more than Christian Zionists.
Yep, I remember that. Yep.
And then he walked it back and he said, I don't hate anybody and da-da-da-da. I know exactly why he said that, because that's exactly how he feels, that these are supposed to be his people and they are, Judas or whatever. So I think probably MTG woke up in the morning, had the exact same reaction I did and probably you did, and just fired it off and told the truth, like the unvarnished truth. Damn the consequences. So God bless her. I think it's really important.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. And I think if she can break with Trump in this dramatic way, then really, like what is the excuse for anybody at this point? Like, if she can deprogram herself, then why can't some of the rank and file do the same thing? And we're just talking about like people who will tell a pollster, yes, I support Donald Trump.
Exactly,
I mean,
dude.
MAGA would always get criticized. They would always get called a cult by the liberals. And I always kind of defended them against that charge because I always thought, liberals were extremely cult-like around Hillary Clinton, around Joe Biden, and around Kamala Harris, and just around their general sort of orthodoxies.
And Obama.
Sure thing. But I always kind of thought that, there is sort of freedom of thought within MAGA. And I guess that was true. I think this first year has sort of led the free-thinking Trump supporters to the exits. And now what you're left with is an actual cult. Yes. Like, I'm not saying everybody who voted for Trump was in a cult. I'm saying, like, at this point, all of the free thinkers have left the building. I think what you're stuck with now is a genuine cult of personality.
Well, not just a cult, but a death cult. Like,
yes.
a cult that actually worships death.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think that's what's so deeply concerning about it. I mean, just for the record, like, that's the reason that I got on the MAGA bandwagon, even if it was just a tentative toe, was that, like, I saw in them what appeared to be a sincere awakening to the absolute catastrophe that was nation building, that was our foreign policy.
Right.
And I did not see that amongst the Democrats, because if I had, I probably would have put a toe on the Democrat bandwagon. But that it seemed totally sincere. And now it's just like their guy is doing it, and half of them have completely abandoned all their principles. So, but I do want to agree with you and, say not all hope is lost. I mean, when they say 100% of MAGA supports Trump, and Trump says that you're only MAGA if you support me. Okay, well, then we already know what we're dealing with, which is a bullshit poll that doesn't matter.
Right.
But also, MAGA constitutes 30% or less of the electorate at this junction. So it's like, we're actually talking about a completely dead political movement. Like, it's not as dead as Libertarian Party, but it's still dead in terms of winning general elections, in terms of winning federal elections. Like, MAGA is toast. So it's not a cult. Like, it's definitely not a cult. You would never see approval ratings get this bad after being as high as they were, as rapidly as they have. And the only reason that happened is because MAGA wasn't a cult, but it's now completely demolished, and all of the people who were not cult members are gone. So, but it doesn't mean that it's not a big problem. I mean, we have 30% of the electorate, which are fucking psychopaths and have no principles to speak of. So it's a problem.
Yep. I agree. All right, Clint Russell, thanks so much for being here with us tonight. I really appreciate you joining. You want to tell everybody where they can find you?
Sure. At Liberty Lockpod on X, you can follow me there. And Liberty Lockdown is the show. Clint Russell's the name. And that's basically all I do. So thank you for having me, Keith. And I hope I filled in for Russell accordingly.
Oh, you were fantastic. You were fantastic. It was a great conversation. Really appreciate you coming on. Hopefully we survive this. And if we survive this and make it back to simpler times, I'll have you on again. We can fight about the billionaire tax, you know, but that seems like a trivial debate at this point when we're all about to die. So thank you, man. Really appreciate it. Great pleasure to meet you. Thanks for joining.
Thank you, guys.
Alrighty. Bye-bye. It's Clint Russell, everybody. Round of applause in the chat. That was a great talk. Really appreciate Clint making time for us tonight. We got a bunch of super chats and Rumble rants. Jake is in the building tonight. Shout out to Jake. We also got 3,998 in the YouTube chat. Yeah, 25. And you do your own headbanging. You know what I got to do? I got to get, because he's going to be gone for a while. I didn't even think about this. I got to get my own, I got to order the prayer bowl and the bell. I should have thought of that, because it's not like it's a one-off thing. Like he's going to be gone for a while. All right, I'll make sure that we do that. All right, before we get on with the rest of the show, just want to give you a little inside scoop that many creators are talking about behind the scenes. It's actually one of the reasons why we're using Rumble, because they made a way to super chat us creators so we get paid immediately and without any fees. So while YouTube and Twitch take up to 50% fees when you tip us creators, this method takes none. That's right. The platform takes 0 fees. We keep nearly 100% of what you send us. You can super chat us with Bitcoin, Tether USD, or even Tether Gold stablecoins. The tip will show up directly in the Rumble chat, which of course we read throughout the show. All you need to do is download the Rumble wallet on the App Store and send the tips to your favorite creators like us. You can also go to wallet.rumble.com, or you can download the app directly from the app stores. It's an amazing way to get rid of the middleman and help the creator economy. You can scan the QR code, go to wallet.rumble.com, or find Rumble Wallet on the App Store. Sending a Rumble rant, super quick, super easy, same as you always do it. It'll just give you the option before you send how you want to send it, USD or through your Rumble wallet. Super easy, helps us out, helps Rumble grow the free speech creator economy. So a shout out to Rumble, of course, for making this disruptive technology. All right, we got a big crowd in here tonight. Thank you all very much for being here. Thanks once again to Clint Russell. We still got plenty of show for you all. I'm going to do a few segments solo tonight before we go to the Q&A. It is Sunday night, so we'll be going over to a Q&A as well. Before we get into Rumble rants and super chats, though, I do want to just share some sad news with the community here. Heartbreaking news from the Indie News Network. All the members of Indie News Network are so sad to see our friend and sister Shonda Masta succumb to her battle with cancer today. This was a few days ago on April 2nd. She was a bright light that will be missed by so many. And I tweeted out, a kind soul taken far too soon. Spoke with her about a month back. She was in such great spirits. Shonda was very brave and will be very much missed. Yeah, I got a call from my friend Pasta Jardula. This had to be about a month ago. And I missed the call. And good thing I called him back when I did, because I was thinking, you know, it was a little late. I'm thinking maybe I'll call him back in the morning. And I'm like, let me call him back right now. And so I called him back, and he had actually flown out to be by Shonda's side when she had taken a turn for the worse. And she actually wanted to talk to me. She wanted to thank me and thank the show for, promoting her, fundraisers and stuff like that. And we did very little for her. I wish we had done more. I wish we could have gotten involved in some bigger way. Perhaps I wish we had. But the point is, we had done relatively little. I mean, what we did was easy. And she still, when Pasta was visiting her, she wanted to talk to me and say thank you. And so, I spent probably about 5-10 minutes on the phone with her, and she was very happy. She was in great spirit. She was very kind. To be thinking, hey, let me thank Keaton. Like, what do you thank me for? I hardly did anything, but it was very moving conversation. She was in very good spirits, seemingly through the end. That was the last time I talked to her, and she had kind of ups and downs, and so we were all pulling for her. And it's of course very sad to see her taken this soon. But I did want to give a shout out to the Indie News Network and to all of our friends over there. So go follow Indie News Network on X and on Substack, and you can learn more about Shonda and celebrate her life over there. And so condolences to her friends and her family and her colleagues over there. We will certainly miss Shonda Masta. And yeah, thanks to Pasta, of course, for connecting us on the phone that day, because that was the last time I talked to her. And so that is very sad, and she will be very much missed. Vienticus Prime says everything's a scam, everything's a lie, including the idea that rabbits fuck each other to make eggs. LOL. Good one, Vienticus Prime. One of my kids, Sawyer, is into nonsensical jokes. They're not even dad jokes. They're worse than dad jokes. They're jokes that make no sense. He asked me the other day, he says, "What did the tree say?" I said, "What did the tree say?" He said, "The tree said knee." Get it? Tree, knee. That would be a good joke book to write. Just a book of nonsensical jokes, of jokes that don't mean anything. I'm telling you, like, he could be like a YouTube star with that. That could be like an Andy Kaufman act. Just this little 8-year-old kid that tells jokes that he's really proud of that make no sense at all. But that was a good one, Vienticus. That made sense. RB Hams Beyond the Pale podcast says Get Up King last night was great. Ex-U.S. military Colonel Anthony Aguilar gave great insight into Gaza from an insider POV. Yeah, Aguilar's great. Aguilar's terrific. So congrats to RB on landing that. That's awesome. Me Shoot Skeet, thanks for the super sticker. Thanks to Jake for fielding these tonight, of course. Vienticus Prime says, tell Russell not to have any anime memes. They just rounded up 800,000 people for anime memes in China. Oh, interesting. Maybe I'll send him a good one. Ha ha. Is that true? Wow. Luckily, he's not into that. But he's going to be going live on his channel throughout his travels there. So, you can pass that warning along to him. I mean, I will too, just in case. Remember that no one hates your beef. Thank you, Mr. De Silva. Appreciate that. Vienticus Prime says, just because I feel the need to say it proper, everything's a scam, everything's a lie, everything's hypocrisy, and so you don't comply. Got it. Where would we be without you? If there's not the perfect episode, at least economically, that the enemy of my enemy is my friend, it's this episode with Keaton and Russell. Love it. Yeah, I mean, look, like, the thing I like about the Libertarians is that you can disagree with them and they don't want to throw you in fucking prison for it. You know what I mean? Like, I can have a conversation with him. You fucking disagree with Jonathan Greenblatt, he'll fucking make a phone call and there'll be the fucking feds kicking down your door 3 days later, So no, I mean, I can roll with the Libertarians for sure. Libertarians are ridiculous. They want freedom for corporate totalitarianism to be free from any democratic influence, then claim to be for freedom. Yeah, that is one of the contradictions, I think, in a lot of manifestations of libertarianism. I mean, I've been reading more about anarchism lately, since people would often tell me I'm more an anarchist than a Marxist. And I think, certain forms of anarchism involve sort of, voluntary collectivization that doesn't necessarily need a state to distribute resources, but voluntary collectivization of economic efforts. Now, that is, of course, utopian. That's why, I'm not doctrinaire. I'm not here to sell anybody on any theory, right? But, I think, you can have a more equal distribution of resources without necessarily having a centralized state. And I could talk with Clint about that. It'd be interesting to see what he thinks about that. But of course, that was not the purpose of the conversation tonight. The purpose of the conversation tonight was to, explore common grounds and common interests and just a common framework that, and this is one of the reasons why he appreciated what I said was hey, look, our policy disagreements don't matter if we can't influence the government. If the government is beyond our influence, then, I could argue with you till I'm blue in the face and you can do the same. And it doesn't matter. We have to figure out a way for people to start exerting some influence on our government again. And I think we are both in agreement on that. Nong, nong, nong. If the Dems win the House and impeach Trump, $20 says it will be for desecrating the Rose Garden or some such shit, and not for war crimes or any sort of oligarchic corruption. Well, maybe they'll be like a real prosecutor and just hit him with everything. Just throw the kitchen sink at him. Throw, 50 counts. RB Ham. So has Clinton figured out yet that the Butler incident was a psychological operation? Trump is in the WWE Hall of Fame for a reason. Thanks, RB. And congrats on your Aguilar interview. The crowd seems to have liked it. Bud Easy, thanks for the $5. DD and Liberty Lockdown are both of my top 5 most watched channels. This is awesome. Pour one out for Cat Turd. Thank you. Yeah, I like Clint's show. Like I said, he, even on the show tonight, he has a soothing way about him, even though we're talking about the same dystopian shit, he has this calming influence on you. Not like this show. You listen to this show too much, you have a fucking nervous breakdown. So that's why I like his show. And I do like his show quite a bit. Brad Gilbert, the Butler bullet is AI generated, crop and tested. Patsy never reaches the roof apex. Can't shoot down at Trump or crowd. Staged. They don't give a fuck about Corey. That's a dumb weak point. They bomb babies FFS. Corey oh, you mean the firefighter. I got it. Brad Gilbert. FU YouTube, 10 minutes to write around your editors. Write around your editors. Not sure what that means. Thank you, though. Angry Pro. I hope everyone was careful this Easter. After all, bunnies are deadly. Just one nearly took down King Arthur and his mean men during their quest for the Holy Grail. That's right. That's right. That is documented fact, Angry Pro. Appreciate that. Peter Monahan, Gator Pete. I'm late. Sorry. I get it, but I can't afford, but I need to have a voice, a semblance of existence. It's not much, but it's what I can do to support you. Okay. Well, thank you, Peter. I appreciate that. But please do be careful with that. And it's call-in night, so you're free to call in. That you could do for free. Angry Pro. DD, recently the Real News Network wrote a follow-up article on East Palestine, Ohio. Have you seen it? No. Thank you for the tip. I will check that out because I always like to cover that story when I can, and it is not easy to find that anywhere near the front pages nowadays. So I will check that out. Appreciate it. I was part of a fundraiser for East Palestine with Savage Joy, and I believe Max Alvarez from the Real News Network was on that stream. He wasn't on with me. We each had like individual slots, but I think he was a part of that. So maybe that was his article, but I will check it out. Thank you. Nong, nong, nong. Ultimately, Israel's a pampered U.S. tank bait colony owned by the deep state to provoke war in West Asia and bribe and blackmail U.S. politicians and institutions. Indeed. Mislead XX, thanks for the $5. U.S. strategic dominance of the Mideast is through Israel. This idea that the U.S. is some victim of influence is ridiculous. Yeah, but it's not a victim of influence. Like, this is even Norm fell into this thing, getting really hung up in the semantics about saying we were duped or that we're just innocent. And I don't think any of this says any of that. Like, I don't think the U.S. is a victim of Israeli influence. I think the United States made a deal with the devil that we're going to back Israel. And that doesn't mean that Israel doesn't take the lead in certain situations. Like, we're still, yes, of course, the United States is still guilty of going into business with a murderous state like Israel. Like, we're still guilty. To say Israel led us into war is not to say that we're a child that just, holds our mother's hand and they march us into a war that we want nothing to do with. That's not to say that at all. So yeah, I don't think one thing necessarily means the second thing. Vienticus Prime. Master Blaster from Bartertown, Israel's a master and the U.S. is Blaster. There you go. If that helps, yes. Thanks, Vienticus, for putting it more poetically. Empire we are. In the 90s, I was deep within the MIC. I had the unfortunate experience of working with Israelis. There's no distance between what we have and what we give to them. None. Thank you, Empire we are. French Laundry, free the Church of the Holy Sepulchre from Israelis. Those regards. It's Easter, for God's sake. Yeah, so Pizza Balla did do a mass there, but the attendance was like next to nothing. Next to nothing. Good Friday was the same thing. The same thing. As I understand it, the Israeli Jews couldn't even gather around the wall for Passover. I think they have the whole thing just locked down. So yeah, no, really, really just a dreadful situation. Clint, getting smeared is called character development. Part of the counter-op of getting out ahead of the curve. Kent, Tucker, Candace, and Chump, all ops. Peter Monahan, $5 already missed Keaton saving money to move to Da Nang. $250 versus, $3,057 on 12/30. Yeah, well, man, I mean, I don't know if Russell got into specifics. I won't get into specifics because I don't want to reveal how much money he's spending, but it's very, very little, shockingly little on hotels and lodging. It's just unbelievably cheap to go there. Professor Brown note, Donald, pull out like your father should have. Thank you. Vienticus Prime, why wouldn't the president post on Truth Social talking to the Iranians? Why would the Iranian government have ever gotten onto Truth Social? The Iranians keep insisting that they're not talking. So this is all just a meltdown. I mean, it's all just a complete meltdown. Peter Monahan, cheeseburger, no soup for you. Thank you, Gator Pete. Kiragina, thanks for the $5. If a war fighter wants to put his war dick in another war fighter's war ass, is that cool with Pete? Asking for a friend. Thank you, Kiragina. And by the way, Pete Monahan, if you're tight on money and you insist on donating, which I would really caution you against if you're tight on money, man, because I know you were having a hard time. If you rumble, you can rumble rant for $1 a piece. I really don't feel comfortable accepting donations if you're close to the wall like that. So just please be careful. Sparky, look on the bright side. President Trump's intellectual deficits could lead to the demise of Israel. Iran has a whole stack full of missiles and drones to shower them for a couple of years. That's the thing. It's not even in Israel's rational interest so much as they're just absolutely psychotic. I mean, you talk about a death cult. I mean, if Zionism is not a death cult, what is? Remember, says Sparky, Muslims revere Jesus. Do Israelis? Not so much. Good point. Dementia is apparently contagious. Trump is getting it from his buddy Biden. All right, I've told this joke before. It's not a joke. It's a story. It's how I became friends with one of my best friends for life. It's Easter weekend. It's a good time to tell this joke. True fans of the show going back a while probably heard this before. But it was, I guess it must have been around Easter weekend because it was around the time when The Passion of the Christ came out in 2004, and I was in high school. And, I sat around a lunch table with a bunch of kids. This Roman Catholic Italian kid was busting my friend's balls because my friend was Jewish, and we weren't even friends at the time. This is what made me want to be his friend. So he's busting the Jewish kid's balls. He says, I saw The Passion of the Christ this weekend. I thought it was disgraceful what your people did to Jesus Christ. They just the cruelty, the brutality. How could you do that to someone? How could you beat them and drag them through and then spear them? How could you treat our Lord and Savior that way? And my friend says, it seemed like a good idea at the time. That was his answer. That was the best comeback that I have ever heard. Like, to this day, I've not heard a comeback as funny as that. And I knew we were going to be friends, and the rest was history. Whose effing bingo card had praise be to Allah replaces thank you for your attention to this matter? Yeah. Yes. Good call. My real name is Keaton. I was at a bar in San Francisco after my friend's wedding when Trump beat Hillary. Lots of screaming and wailing. Good night to own a bar. Yeah, I'll bet. My brother was at UPenn. He was at law school, very liberal law school, and they were watching the results in like a theater. You know, they had a big screen, you know, like a movie screening room, like probably a lecture hall that had like a pull down, like projector screens. It was a big sort of amphitheater type room. And there was one MAGA kid, like in basically the whole class. I mean, these are all libs at UPenn. And so, you know, she's starting to lose. It's starting to look pretty obvious that she's not going to make it. And the room just goes dead silent. Like, nobody's saying a word. Everybody is just stunned and depressed and miserable. And so the MAGA kid gets up and he leaves the room. Half hour later, he comes back into a room that is just stone cold, silent. You can hear a pin drop in this fucking room. And MAGA kid comes back in with a bottle of champagne and he pops it as loud as he can in a dead silent room. The popping of the cork just echoes throughout the room. And he starts drinking the champagne in front of all of these traumatized libs. That's a scene. That's a scene. Oh, sorry. Got that one already. Brad Gilbert. Makes perfect sense when you were trying to reset your new digital currency, Clint. Trump was always a WEF puppet. Everything was character development. Thank you for that. Sparky says Vance is likely waiting around to be forced to remove Trump so he becomes president. You may have asked Tulsi to not resign, so it's easier for her to slide into VP. Well, maybe. I mean, look, my projection stands. The fact that there's even this kind of talk about 25th Amendment now makes me feel like I'm on pretty good pace. I said by the end of the year, there's going to be serious talk about him stepping down. You know, not just like a few X accounts or whatever, but like serious speculation that he's going to have to step down. And, you know, we still got 9 months to go in 2026. So I think my prediction is looking pretty damn good. Okay. Let's do some more segments. We got plenty of more super chats and rumble rants. We will get to all that in due time, of course. We also are going to a Q&A tonight after the show. So plenty more stuff. So everybody strap in and get ready. Got a lot more stuff to get to here. All right, everybody. So Trump is seeking to pay for his new $1.5 trillion military budget by cutting the following. So, yeah, it was news, you know, about a year ago. He wanted to increase the military budget to $1.5 trillion. And everybody thought, well, for what? Well, joke's on us now, is it not? Now we know for what. He wants to transition us to a war economy. That's right, a war economy. So here are some of the cuts he's willing to make here as put together by this HQ News handle. Quite a few of them. Grants for farmers and agricultural research, loans for rural small businesses, fully eliminated. Support for farmers and food markets, fully eliminated. School meals and food education for children abroad, fully eliminated. 659 million community building grants, blah, blah, blah. We go down the line here toward the end. 150 million for cutting edge clean energy research. $4 billion at the end there, helping paying home heating and cooling bills for low income families, fully eliminated. Now, of course, that's not the last item on the list, which we'll get to in a second, but that is something that people are honing in on. Trump re-ups push to eliminate low-income heating assistance program, LIHEAP. President Trump is once again proposing to eliminate a program that helps low-income people heat and cool their homes The president's budget released Friday states that the low-income home energy assistance program should be cut. For the sixth time, the budget proposes to end this program, it said, adding that Trump's agenda should do enough to lower energy prices and make up the difference. Oh, yeah, sure. It's not like they're trying to like screw you out of your heating or anything. It's not that they don't care if you freeze to death or, if God forbid, you got a lot of seniors living in these retirement communities in South Florida and, the Phoenix, Arizona area. I mean, these could get to be, 110, 120 degree days. You can't have the cooling cut off. But this looks like it could be a potential problem here if he gets his way. Of course, Congress is unlikely to actually enact the cut, as LIHEAP has significant bipartisan support. But the president's budget is an indicator of his administration's priorities. The Trump budget describes LIHEAP as unnecessary because states have policies preventing utility shutoffs, making LIHEAP a pass-through benefiting utility companies. So this is actually the full list of cuts that Trump wants to make in order to accommodate his $1.5 trillion military budget. That's right. To get the whole list on the screen, I had to zoom out so far that you can't even read these things. So just an extensive list of programs that are going to be cut, initiatives that are going to be discontinued in order to satisfy this proposed $1.5 trillion military budget. Now, Gunther Eagleman responds to that list. This is a lie. Of course, it's not a lie. The community noted very quickly the assertion that this tweet, meaning this, the lists of cuts to accommodate the $1.5 trillion defense budget, or war budget, I should say. You shouldn't be able to call it a defense budget if it's not called the Department of Defense anymore. If it's called the Department of War, then we should call the budget the war budget. It should no longer, we should no longer be allowed to call it the defense budget. It's the war budget. The assertion that this tweet is false is incorrect. The listed budget reductions are documented in the official FY 2027 federal budget released by the White House, which details reallocations from domestic programs towards increased defense spending. Again, shouldn't call it defense spending if it's now not the Department of Defense anymore. If it's the Department of War, we should call it war spending. So if this seems like a giant scam to you, you are not alone. I have called MAGA the biggest scam in modern political history. Hands down, stand by that 100%. And now it seems like Tim Dillon has jumped on this bandwagon as well. Here he is calling the Trump administration the greatest scam in history.
About that there's not going to be any more daycare or Medicaid because of the war.
Because the United States can't take care of daycare. That has to be up to a state. We can't take care of daycare. We're a big country. We have 50 states. We have all these other people. We're fighting wars. We can't take care of daycare. You got to let a state take care of daycare, and they should pay for it, too. They should pay. They have to raise their taxes, but they should pay for it. And we could lower our taxes a little bit to them to make up, but it's not possible for us to take care of daycare. Medicaid, Medicare, all these individual things, they can do it on a state basis. You can't do it on a federal. We have to take care of
It's the greatest con in history. By the way, it's the greatest con in history. I mean, truly. It's the greatest. And I don't say great in like a good way. It is truly the most successful con in history. It makes Enron look like a guy doing three-card Monte on the street. Anything that you can remember and identify as a complete and utter scam, this is the greatest con in history. To run as an America first, and you're going to take care of America, and then turn around and go, all of these things, daycare, Medicare, Medicaid, we have nothing to do with that. We're fighting wars. That's what we're here to do. We're here to have a defense budget of $1.5 trillion, and we're here to fight wars. It is the greatest scam in history. You got to hand it to him. And I mean, truly, and not in, again, not in a moral way, but like you got to hand it to him. This is the greatest about face in political history that I have really ever seen.
Yeah, you got to hand it to him. You got it more than you got to hand it to him. You really got to hand it to America, because this is who we elevate in this country. You know, Trump is not an aberration in that sense. The businessman, quote unquote, the salesman, you know, the guy who smiles to your face and then knifes you in the back. You know, guy who gives that the big toothy smile when he shakes your hand, and as soon as he gets you the grip on your hand, he shivs you in the side with the other hand. You know, those are the people who we consider to be winners in this country. You know, we act like those guys are sleaze bags, but we don't treat them like that. We treat them the exact opposite way. All of us. When we go to buy a car or a new phone or whatever, you know, I'll use the car dealership, you know, as an example. You know, the car dealer comes by, he asks you about your life, about your family, your kids, as if he cares. He doesn't care. We know he doesn't care, right? And he knows that we know he doesn't care. Yeah, he cares about my family. The guy who's trying to sell me the car. If he doesn't close the sale with us, we can wrap our van around the tree and die on the way home. He wouldn't care one bit. We know that. And he knows that we know that. But still, we go through this ritual of being charmed and laughing and joking and ha. We know his job is to get as much out of us as he can. And he knows that we understand that. You know, it's like that scene in Fargo with the True Coat. You know, the dealer gives the guy True Coat for $500 even after the customer said he didn't want it. YouTube was feeding me Fargo clips, so I bit because I love that movie. And so there's that great scene where, you know, he agrees 19.5. Okay, we agree 19.5, and then he comes and he hits him for another $500 for the True Coat. The guy says, "What do you mean?" I said, I thought we didn't go for the True Coat. I told you I didn't want it." He says, "Yeah, but you know the True Coat, that's done at the factory." He says, "Well, fuck you." So then, of course, dealer goes to the back room to ask the boss what we could do about it. Of course, he goes to the boss's room, and the boss, you know, they just make some kind of small talk. "What are you doing this weekend?" Blah blah blah. Doesn't ask the boss anything. Comes back to the customer. He says, "Got some great news. I can knock $100 off that True Coat for you." And the customer just eats it because, hey, by that time, he's all in on the car. He's already bought the car. He's not going to back out of the deal on the car. And so he just takes it. Fine. He says, "You're a fucking liar," right? But so what? The guy got you for the extra $400. And in America, we look up to the people who could do that the best. I mean, Donald Trump, before he ran for president, literally played a fake boss on TV whose catchphrase was "You're fired." So we watch this rich fuck sit in a tacky, you know, pretend TV throne and bully pretend workers around until he fires them. That's what passes for entertainment in America. So if that's what passes for entertainment in America, is it really a big surprise that America would be scammed in this way? Not only would America allow themselves to be scammed in this way, but when you walk around the country or you drive around the country or drive around town and you wonder, as many people have, hey, why aren't there more protests in the streets about the war, about the genocide, even about gas prices? Like, where's all the protests? How is it that as a Trump voter, every time you drive past the gas station and you see these prices up in lights, you don't feel like the world's biggest sucker? And the answer is because you're not the world's biggest sucker. It's a country full of the world's biggest suckers and scammers. That's who lives in America. Suckers and scammers. It's scam or be scammed. And, you know, none of that is really going to change, I don't think. It's not going to change unless there is a revolution of consciousness in this country. And still people start realizing that they must not worship sleazebags, businessmen, salesmen, right? Because it is that sort of just like blind acceptance of a certain dynamic that the second you step out the door, you're going to have your ass spread open and someone's going to fuck you till you bleed out. And that is essentially what is happening to America right now. Donald Trump wiggled his way into a second term. He's not running for anything anymore. There's no reason to give a shit what you think about him anymore. So as soon as he gets in, that's it. Spreads you open, fucks you, and now we're bleeding out. That's what's happening to this country. And, you know, I don't even know how reparable it is. You know, I think it's kind of the DNA of this country, and it will remain sort of fundamentally unaltered. I think sometimes a thing kind of is what it is. You know, this country was founded by a kind of a bizarre group of people. They were elite colonizers who themselves were also colonized from an ocean away. And they eventually figured, hey, you know, why kick up when we could just keep the whole loot for ourselves. And so they led a revolution against the British, and they formed America as we know it. And what did they do? They created a system that protected their wealth from their own peasant underclass. And as we expanded our territory out onto the frontier, we kind of learned the virtues of rugged individualism, right? Life on the frontier. And it became ingrained in us. And at this point, that is kind of the American DNA. It's kind of just who we are. You know, maybe not everything is changeable. I don't know. It's worth a shot, I guess, as long as we're here. But I know it's no surprise that a system built on greed and gamesmanship and deceit produced the ultimate con man, supreme leader in Donald Trump. I'd be very surprised if it didn't. So when Tim Dillon says this is the greatest scam in history, he's right. Trump is really the end result of a country that is just obsessed with all the wrong things. Prioritizes is too weak a word. We're obsessed with all the wrong things. We value all the wrong things to the exclusion of all of the right things. Give you an example. As long as I'm here by myself, I can go on these tangents without cutting into Russ's time. So my dishwasher broke. I'm at an apartment complex. My dishwasher broke. Second dishwasher that broke. The dishwashers are garbage that they give you here. Wasn't taking on any water, so it broke. So I had to wash my dishes by hand, which when you have 3 kids, you really use the dishwasher a lot. You don't wash the dishes by hand very often. So one of the only times I washed the dishes by hand in this apartment. So I had, when you're washing dishes, I had, about a sink about 2/3 of the way full with water. And apparently that was too much for the sink to handle. I noticed the rim of the sink had become unglued, I guess, under the weight of the water. I said, what the fuck is that? 2 seconds later, the sink bottoms out. Literally, the sink just, boom, falls out the drum. Water everywhere. We're in the upstairs apartment, right? 6 or 7 gallons of water. Maybe not that much. I don't know how much the sink holds, but a lot of water dripping out onto the floor. It's the part where I know it's going to leak through my neighbor's ceiling. So I run down. So first of all, I sop as much of it up with the towel as I can, minimize the damage as much as I can. But I know there's going to be water coming through my neighbor's ceiling. So I run downstairs. Turns out my neighbor's, outside. We have water. I said, I know. My sink fell out. I was washing my dishes and my sink just collapsed. So it's after hours. It's Friday night. Right? The management is not at the complex. So I call because I had a maintenance emergency once a couple years ago. And I know that if you call after hours, you go to an operator and they put you through to the emergency maintenance person. Well, this time I call the emergency maintenance and I get a virtual assistant. I get AI, an AI operator who's like, hello, what is your problem? I said, my sink fell out. She says, I'm sorry to hear that your sink fell out. Is there active flooding? I said, yes. She says, you should call 911 if it's an emergency. If not, what would you like me to do? So I said, I need to talk to a person. Couldn't get through to a person. She says, we'll contact the emergency on-call maintenance guy. I didn't trust that. I had to Google the number for the actual human operator. And then they put me through to an actual maintenance guy. And the rest of the story is even fucking crazier, but I don't want to tell it yet because I don't want to get anybody in trouble in case it is discerned who that person is. But anyway, I didn't get my sink fixed until the next day. But anyway, the point is you got a company's switching to AI, knowing that they're screwing the customers. Like the assumption is when you replace a human with a robot in that capacity, i.e. emergency after hours maintenance matters, that your tenant is going to be less satisfied with that service than if you had a person there. They don't fucking care. They don't fucking care. They know they're providing you with worse service. They know you know that. They know you know why they're doing it, because it's cheaper. It's all that matters in this country is how management saves money and keeps more for themselves. That's the only thing that matters in this country. And so you ask yourself, how do you walk around in a country just so hypnotized by all this propaganda, a country just sleepwalking into its own grave. Well, that's how. And that's how you have a country that falls for this MAGA scam, which he's absolutely right. I mean, it is the ultimate scam. This is the ultimate con.
That's what we're here to do. We're here to have a defense budget of $1.5 trillion, and we're here to fight wars. It is the greatest scam in history. You got to hand it to him. And I mean, truly, and not in, again, not in a moral way, but like you got to hand it to him. This is the greatest about face in political history that I have really ever seen.
100%. When I was a tour guide, I had this lovely old couple from South Carolina. They're wonderful people, not bad people. And Trump was running in 2016, and he's like, I think he could be a good president because he has the money. He has the money. I'm like, what the fuck does that have to do with anything? He has the money. That means he'd be a good president because he has the money? Well, yes. In a country that values money, accumulation of wealth to the extent that we do, the amount of money you have in a lot of people's eyes is equal to your virtue as a person. Because the assumption is, if you made a bunch of money, you must be really smart. Not just smart, but good. Good. Wealth is a substitute for virtue in the American system. And that's how people can be conned into this. And to go back to that car salesman analogy in Fargo, he knows once the guy bid for the car, he can fuck him for the extra $500 on the True Coat that he said he didn't want. Of course he can. The guy's already in. He's in. You elected as a second term. He's a lame duck. You don't need your vote anymore. Of course, the salesman is going to put the final fuck in your ass when you can't do anything about it. And like every good salesman, like every good con man, he waited until you couldn't do shit about it to start a war with Iran. He didn't do that in his first term because he still needed your vote in his first term. He didn't campaign on that for his second term because he needed your vote to get a second term. Now he doesn't need anything from you anymore. And so now is when the ultimate con reveals itself. Once you are powerless against it. Now he gives you that $500 True Coat that you said you didn't want, that he knows you don't want. Gives it to you anyway because he can. Nothing you can do about it at this point. And that's how that goes. Now, for what it's worth, here is Will Rollins pointing out how ironic it is that the No New Wars president has started a new war. Ironic, isn't it?
Something similar.
Yeah, 100%. I have buddies who voted for him, and to be honest, it surprises me, and I find it ironic that the No New Wars president has started a new war, and he's walked away from some of his biggest political advantages that he had when he won in 2024, like the economy. And when you propose a $1.5 trillion defense budget, and you have your base starting to perceive you as part of the regular establishment in Washington, D.C., you take away that advantage of being the outsider candidate. And so I think Democrats are probably going to be able to capitalize in November on that.
Of course.
It's interesting that he mentions the outsider candidate because, not only has this really tarnished the Republican brand, but it has really tarnished the outsider brand. People are going to be much more skeptical of outsider candidates now because they're going to be, they're going to have the memory of Donald Trump fresh in their mind. Last time an outsider came along promising to change things, what do we get? This, right? This kind of makes all outsiders feel like snake oil salesmen, even though many of whom don't deserve to be cast in that light. This is setting a not so good precedent for so-called outsiders. And so the legacy of this is just unbelievably destructive, but this is a moment that the country really walked into, and we walked into it because of a lot of priorities that this society has had all wrong for too long. All right, we're going to go to some super chats. In fact, Jake, if you could throw up the scroll, please, and thank you very much. Shout out to Jake in the booth for helping us out tonight's. You can go to dudissidents.com /Patreon if you like what we're doing here to help us out for just $5 a month. That's our scam. That's our hustle. Ha ha. We give you a lot for it, though. You get call-in access to all of our Q&As, which happen every Sunday night after the main show. Tonight is Sunday. It's Easter Sunday. Of course, how could you forget with that glowing Easter message that Donald Trump gave us early this morning. You also get ad-free versions of every live stream sent to you the day after they air, so ad-free live stream replays. You also get our monthly film club with Right Brain TV's extensive catalog of dissident cinema from around the world. We had our second one, Cambodia Year Zero, last week. We'll pick a great one for April as well. Some people want us to do a funnier one because we did a couple of sad ones to start the series off. There are some cool kind of funny ones. There's a kind of cool, quirky Australian horror film that I might pick for April. Well, I gotta wait for Russ to do that because he's an Aussie. All right, I'll figure out something. They have a great library of films. They have all these great stand-up specials and documentaries on comedians. Maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll pick one of their sort of stand-up comedy films. That might be fun. A little change of pace. But anyway, you get that. You also get post-game live stream content. And, of course, your name up in lights, plus the goodwill of supporting independent media. We thank you all very much for your support. Let's go to some more Super Chats and Rumble Rants. President Tel Aviv Toilet and BB Nazi Yahoo conspire with elites to end the world. They want bunker class to retreat so they can eliminate the masses, then emerge like maggots and rule over our ashes. Thank you for that. Christopher Back, thanks for the $5. Keaton, shameful performance. What a weakling. Sane washing Trump. Perhaps we should call you Jake Tapper. I sane washed Trump? I called him a madman. What do you mean I sane washed him? How did I sane wash Donald Trump? I think we called him an unhinged madman. Is that a joke or is that a complaint? Fun fact, I don't think I'm guilty of sane washing Donald Trump, though. We'll take a poll in the audience. I think you're in the minority if that is your sincere opinion. Tim Pool's blown Netanyahu for so long he could start a leaf blower. Thank you, Sparky. Appreciate that. Stoop sign. Hey, Trump isn't allowed at Bridge Day. Bridge Day rules are as follows. The bid, opening 3, no Trump as the first bidder. What it shows, a long, solid minor suit. Operative words, no Trump. Adore Jimmy says, rest in peace, Sean Namasta. Absolutely. Thank you for that. The Anticus Prime, just smack a small pot with something like a ladle, Keaton. It should work well enough. LOL. Thank you, Vienticus. Oh, yeah, and since Russ isn't here, how do you stop an octopus? With 10 tickles. Ha! Good one. Yeah, I bought my kid a joke book because he's getting into telling jokes. There was one in there that was pretty good, actually. That wasn't a dad joke, but it was good. What was it? I forget what it was. Maybe it'll pop back into my head. That's the thing. When something falls out of your mind and you're on by yourself, you just have to let go and keep going. You can't dwell because that creates dead space. If I forget what I'm saying and Russ is here, I could have Russ read them and then I'll think of it. But we're without a net here tonight for the rest of the way. It's just me. Keaton do a Star Wars segment just for laughs. Ha! Good one. Remember when Biden was president and there would be 5 horrible stories a week that you had to do, and so you had time to do a pop culture segment every now and then? Not now. That's the thing about Trump. He, with Trump now, we have 30 horrible stories a week. We can't keep up with all of them, so there's no way to do any of those. There's no way to squeeze any of that other stuff in. Scary times. Virtuoso, that Trump post was to pay homage to his friend Mike Tyson, who went on a post-fight rant about his eventual opponent Lennox Lewis, saying he wants to eat his heart and his children, and then cap it off with praise be to Allah. Is that right? Wow. That is that true? I don't even know. I don't even know if you're joking, Virtuoso. But yeah, that would be quite the tribute that people may have missed. Keaton, you need a headbanging bobblehead. I like that idea. Thank you, Albu Kid. I really like that. But for Russ's hiatus, yes. Bet you could find one online or maybe even make one in AI for the 666 sound. No, I'm going to get a physical one. No, I need that. I need a physical a headbanging bobblehead. I need a prayer bowl, and I need a bell. Yeah, I'm gonna be like a Looney Tunes character here, sitting here with all this shit, bells and bowls and papers and everything. But yes, no, that is a good suggestion. I like it. Thank you. That is using your brain. Heavy snack. Jimmy and Kurt's defense of Joe Rogan was so cringe I had to turn it off. I won't let it ruin Jimmy for me, but yikes. I mean, look, they're friends. You know, we're going to talk about Rogan and Theo Von actually next. That's my last segment. But hey, look, you know, they're friends with the guy. You know, hey, I'm sure he's a nice guy. I'm sure he treats his friends, you know, well. You know, comics. It's hard for comics to be treated well. You know, artists, whether you're a musician or a comic or anything, you know. It's hard to find people who like treat you well. You know, a lot of artists are always exploited. So to have you like friends who treat you well, like I get it. It's fine. It's all good. They know what we think, and you know, we know what they think, and it's fine. Siddhartha Vicious, Keaton the Tree says, now I take my leaves. Now I take my leaves. Good one. All right, see, good. I hope Russ is watching. God, I wish I remembered that joke. It was a good joke. What is the joke? Oh, well, all right. So this is one. See, my kid didn't get this because he didn't know the previous joke. But it's, why did the gum cross the road? Because it was stuck to the chicken's feet. Boom. Boom. Jake, you can kill the scroll now if you're there. Thank you. We're on the third scroll there. I want to give them more than their money's worth. Why did the gum, G-U-M, as in Mary, cross the road? Because it was stuck to the chicken's feet. That wasn't the best one. No, there was another one that was better, but that was not bad. Thank you for showing Chanda some love. Of course, she hosted the Trailer Park Pundit channel, co-hosted Beauty and the Boomer every Saturday night with years with Osla Fave. Such an inspirational and optimistic voice. Yes, very sweet person. Very, very sweet person. One of the countless injustices that the world has thrown us in recent times is that someone as kind as Shonda was taken as young as she was. It's very, very sad. It's very, very sad. But like I said, she seemed to be, as far as I know, and I don't know much. I mean, I spoke to her a couple times in my life, including, you know, Pasta put me through to her. She seemed in good fighting spirits until the end, as far as I could see. Mayadal Shamsi. Any news about Pierre Batista Pizza Balla? I don't actually care. I just like hearing his name being said. Very musical. It is. That's the best name ever. Yeah, no, I did give it. Somebody super chatted about him earlier. Yeah, apparently they did have the Easter Mass, but it was for a very limited audience. They didn't have the full service there, but apparently they did go through with it. Peter Jackson. It's not Israel controlling the U.S. or vice versa. There's a secret cabal that runs both. The U.S.-Israel debate serves to obscure this secret cabal. I mean, yeah, that could be too. That could be too. It could all be blue-pilled, you know, in that sense. Definitely open to that possibility. You know me. Matt Brady, supporting the concept of a wealth cap is now called limitarianism, the opposite of libertarianism. Thank you. Flamma blamma blamma blam. Hell yeah, buddy. Have you been reading Rudolph Rocker, Berkman Goldman, the OGs, Zapatistas, and the News Wave stuff? Which anarchist book would you recommend? I haven't read any of that shit. I mean, I'm still a father of 3. I don't really have time to read that much. There's only there's only so much I can read, which means there's talk about limitarianism. There's a limit as to how smart I can be with 3 kids and how well read I could be. But I will look into some stuff and recommend what I can. But takes time. But thank you for that. Raven Laz, RFK Jr. I Easter this freaky chick. I hid 6 eggs around her house for me to find. I found the first 5. Guess what the last one was? She knew me well. That was a goose who laid a golden egg. I almost did this story. Thank you, Raven Laz. I almost did a story. It was some study that showed that pig semen has like cancer fighting qualities. It's a real story. Some study that was done that shows that, pig cum can be used to fight cancer. And I almost did the story just to make that crack, where after you read the headline, pig semen found to have anti-cancer qualities, I was going to say, I'm not one to say I told you so, but I told you so. That would have made the whole segment, but it would have been a very short segment because that's the only reason I was tempted to do it. But that didn't make the cut. So Z Cormans, Liberty Lockdown in the house. Libertarian who lovingly tunes into the Due Dissidents commies from time to time. Thanks for having Clint on, fellas. Thank you. See, this is why I like the Libertarians. See, they're nice. Nice. See, the left can learn something from this super chat. Okay, you don't have to be miserable. See, you can be nice. You can be nice. See, I like that. Thank you, Z Cormans. See, they know how to build a movement. See, they're nice to people. That's very important. Peter Monahan, Keaton, check your email. Our president using that language, how far we've fallen from the very lowest branch. 25th is my nuclear option. Can't stand him. Thank you, Peter. Appreciate that. Furrow Squeen says, guess which parent listens to me? I say Russell's in China, so Keaton's on his own for a bit. My mom seems interested. My dad says, who's that? I thought it was your podcast. My mom says, hi. Thank you, Furrow Squeen, for that update. Appreciate that. V. Nettlesbaum says, hey, I like new Russell. Please have him back on. Now I just have to find someone with the first name Dobular. Ha, good one. Yeah, Clint was great. Here's one for your boy. What did the banana say to the orange? Hey, orange. Love from Florida. Yeah, he would like that. He would like that. I'll tell him that one. Alex Das Leave, thanks for the $4.99. Thank you for your inattention to the file. Should be DJT's signature on his troth sensual kvetches. Yes, exactly. Vienticus, there was just a huge $75 million lawsuit getting refunds for car buyers in Michigan, all from one auto group. Oh, wow. Thank you for that. Stoop sign, I was the best menswear salesman in history because I didn't respect my own company. To make my commission, I gave shit away for free so my company would lose money. Company went bankrupt. Checkmate. Thank you for that. Vientica says, say it, Keaton. Say it with conviction. Scream it out your window if you have to. Everything's a scam. Everything's a lie. Everything's hypocrisy. And so we don't comply. Thank you, EO Shush. We've had libertarian economic policies since Reagan. You can't push libertarians' policies on a public unless you mask them via culture wars, and libertarian policies don't work unless you wage a war for resources. Yeah, no, I mean, look, I'm not a libertarian. For sure. I think there are a lot of unworkable things about it from what I could tell. End of empire, you say. Hold my beer, the collective USA. Username, end of the empire, you say. Oh, sorry, got that one. That one was a double. Peter Jackson, Zelensky, Trump both had TV shows, pre-planned ops. Yeah, both entertainers. Hongyan J8H, Jaith. Hongyan Jaith. Is that what it is? To quote another great movie, speaking of Fargo, if the rule you followed led you to this, of what use was the rule? Yes, another Coen Brothers, No Country for Old Men. It fed me that too, I guess, because it was another Coen Brothers movie. I watched that scene recently as well. That's the scene with the wife at the end. Masterpiece, absolute masterpiece film. It was a perfect film, absolutely perfect from the first frame to the last. There was literally not a single thing about No Country for Old Men that I would change at all. Perfect from the first frame to the last. This evening's broadcast of Due Dissidents will be replaced with the Keaton Weiss Black Pill Variety Hour. May God have mercy on you scum-sucking, sleaze-worshipping soul Americans. Love it. You the best. Thank you, People Infinite. Appreciate that very much. I'm sorry, Keaton, I can't do that, says Danny. Thank you, Danny. Appreciate that. Vientica says we should probably start referring to a president's first and second terms as buying favor term and war term, respectively. Yeah, not a bad idea. I think the Dems, says Mike Necron Fence. Sorry if I mispronounced that there. I think the Dems and the mainstream left deserve a lot of the blame for making this MAGA scam viable in the first place. I agree. No argument there, my friend. Appreciate that. All right. We will take the rest of these in due time. Jake, can you just do me a small favor and clear out those that I've already read so that I'm up to date on the last one? Thanks very much for that. So, folks, we spent a lot of time here talking about the hopelessness of the system and how rigged everything is, whether it's the war machine or the corporate media. But there's also a rigged system hitting your wallet right now, and that's Medicare. So if you're approaching 65, you're likely getting bombarded by huckster agents pushing plans that pay them a fat commission. That's right. A lot of seniors get put onto Medicare plans they don't need by agents seeking a commission. We just did a whole segment about how salespeople are incentivized to screw customers in this country because it's a total racket and it leaves you holding the bag. Just like in Fargo, they hit you with the $500 True Coat that you don't need. We discussed that earlier in tonight's lesson. But that is why we are partnered with our friends at Chapter, because they are the only advisors that compare every single Medicare plan nationwide, and their advisors are independent and unbiased. So they advocate for you and not big insurance. If you call them and you already have a Medicare plan that's right for you, they will tell you to stay put, and that will be the end of the discussion. They are not incentivized to sell you on things you don't need because all of their agents are salaried. So they're simply there to help you find the best Medicare option for you. The call is free. It's simple. It's refreshingly honest. Connect with an advisor today. This is a phone number set up just for Due Dissidents viewers, 404-706-0804. That's 404-706-0804. So you're going to get to speak to a person, and they're going to have a good sense of where you came from. You can also click the link in the description of this video to inquire online. But unlike a lot of companies that jerk you around with infinite drop-down menus and press 1 for this, 2 for that, 3 for the other thing, you get to speak to a person when you call Chapter. So the number is 404-706-0804. Give it a shot and find the Medicare plan that is right for you. All right, let's move right on along here. We got one more segment here on the evening that we're going to get to. Let me see what we got over here. All right, beautiful. All right, so Theo Von went on the Joe Rogan podcast, and things got pretty real here. This is about 40 minutes into the episode. I did watch, a decent chunk of it, not the whole thing. It was like 2 hours and 40 minutes long. But here is Theo Von basically calling Israel terrorists.
Think is going to happen? You think we're going to be okay?
I hope so. Of course. I don't know.
Do you think about it?
I'm confused. I can't believe we went to this war. When we started bombing Iran, I was like, this can't be true.
And what about Lebanon now?
I know. Israel's invaded Lebanon. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, just fucking stop. Like, what do you need?
Well, they're trying to, supposedly, they're trying to stop the terrorists.
Yeah, that's crazy, though.
Stop the terrorists. What was it, 2002? Would you fall asleep for 20 years? They're trying to stop the terrorists. Here he gets an answer for that.
That's crazy, though, if you're the fucking terrorist. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you want to stop them, fucking stand in front of the fucking mirror and start there.
Yeah. To me, the thing that hit hardest, I brought this up to Clint Russell, was the beginning here.
What do you think is going to happen? You think we're going to be okay?
I hope so. Of course. I don't know.
Do you think
we're going to be okay? That resonates. That resonates with people. It resonates with me. And, look, as I mentioned with Clint on the air a couple hours ago, different clip. Obviously, we're clipping this separately, but I think one of the things that really has given me a lot of perspective as someone of, relative privilege. I did not grow up rich. I grew up middle class. I grew up a white middle class suburban kid. And when you start asking yourself, hey, are we actually going to make it here? Like, this is not at arm's length anymore. This is like hitting home. Puts a lot in perspective. People around the world probably ask themselves that question every day. Palestinians, Venezuelans, Cubans, Cambodians, where Russ just was. Even people in America poor people, people of racial minorities in America. They probably ask themselves that on such a consistent basis that they don't even consciously ask themselves that anymore, right? That is just part of day-to-day life. In the back of your mind, that question is just kind of running on a loop, on autopilot, to the point where it may not even be conscious anymore. Are we going to be okay? You know, the way I think of it is, you know, with little kids now who are animal lovers, we watch some like nature documentaries, and we watched this documentary about these lions, and it's funny, you know, you look at a lion in the wild, lions like just like chilling out, they're like reclined, they're rolling around, they're sleeping, they're rubbing their eyes, they are just not a care in the world because they're the top of the food chain. You look at every other animal in a nature documentary and they're, what's here, what's there, they're always on high alert because something's going to get them, because they're not top of the food chain, they're not the lion. And I think Americans, broadly speaking, like I said, there are gradations within America, levels of privilege within the empire, of course. But generally speaking, broadly speaking, Americans are used to being that lion, right? We're used to just being sprawled out in the grass, just soaking it in, knowing nothing's coming for us. And now we're starting to feel, you know, more like the antelope, more like the, whoa, what's going on? What's going on? Are we going to make it? So I think that question there, are we going to be okay? I think that cut pretty deep.
What do you think is going to happen? You think we're going to be okay?
I hope so. Of course. I don't know.
Do you think about it?
I'm confused. I can't believe we went to this war. When we started bombing Iran, I was like, this can't be true.
And what about Lebanon now?
I know. Israel's invaded Lebanon. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, just fucking stop it. What do you need?
Well, they're trying to, supposedly, they're trying to stop the terrorists.
That's crazy, though, if you're the fucking terrorist.
That's right. That's right. That's crazy when you're the fucking terrorist. So this is where it gets a little awkward. This is where it gets a little awkward because Theo goes off on one of his more red-pilled rants, and Rogan kind of pulls him back a little bit, telling him that he's got to come off his medication because he's losing his mind a little bit.
Cat and mouse game. People are like, we'll elect the Democrats next time. It's like, but it's all the same shit has been happening forever. They haven't been helping anybody forever. They're letting fucking politicians slurp on kids. All of our fucking money goes to Israel and they're using it to fucking genocide people. It's like everybody is scared out of their wits right now. It's like our religious leaders are afraid to speak out. And it's like it's a time where it's like Satan is amongst us and our religious leaders are fucking talking about bullshit at the poll. It's just like, what is going, I don't know, man.
We got to get you off those antidepressants, son. You're losing your fucking marbles.
You think I am?
Come hang out with us. Just chill out.
I'm here.
So he's on a tear there that he says, whoa, you're on your... See, okay, we'll get into this a little bit more, but let me just play that one more time.
It's all just a cat and mouse game. People are like, we'll elect the Democrats next time. It's like, but it's all the same shit has been happening forever. They haven't been helping anybody forever. They're letting fucking politicians slurp on kids. All of our fucking money goes to Israel and they're using it to fucking genocide people. It's like everybody is scared out of their wits right now. It's like our religious leaders are afraid to speak out. And it's like it's a time where it's like Satan is amongst us and our religious leaders are fucking talking about bullshit at the poll. It's just like, what is going, I don't know, man.
We got to get you off those antidepressants, son. You're losing your fucking marbles.
You think I am?
Come hang out with us. Just chill out.
I'm here.
All right.
It's
now,
all
as Theo clarifies, and we'll get into this in a little later, you know, he's joking when he says we have to get you off the antidepressants. They had been talking about antidepressants earlier in the podcast. That's all true. But it is ironic, though, that like of all the crazy shit that gets talked about on the Joe Rogan show, like the most kind of like clear-headed, red-pilled like distillation of what is plaguing the world right now is the one that gets the response, hey man, you're all right, you're losing your marbles a little bit. Like, no, that was clarity that Theo was expressing there. Like, that was an epiphany moment. That was peak sanity, I think. Now, Autism Capital, this account has been on a journey because they used to be the biggest chuds you'd see on X, both for Elon and for MAGA. And looks like they really turned on Trump over Epstein. I don't follow them particularly closely, but that's when I noticed a sharp change in their commentary. If you watch the full Joe Rogan Theo Von podcast from today, you can cut the tension with a knife. Theo will say something left-coded, and Joe will immediately take the opposite end of the stance and challenge him over and over until Theo basically says, "What are you doing?" So I didn't watch that part. Joe has a tendency to do this from time to time. For some reason, he randomly, some episodes, decides this is going to be the one where he's super combative and doesn't let people just flow with the convo and challenges way too much, and the guests can't get into a groove or cook. Excuse me. It sort of makes sense why he stops and challenges Theo on everything right now, because Theo jumps into discussions about Israel, Trump, Luigi, etc., like every hot topic, controversial issue, and Joe wants to make sure the heat doesn't blow back to him or his advertisers. All right, so this is kind of interesting here. Before we get into the full context, Theo Von says people are taking stuff out of context, and that's not fair. Joe and I were having a convo about getting off antidepressants prior to this, and this is after that. Joe has been supportive on and off mic about my well-being, like any friend would, and I'm grateful. Thanks, Joe Rogan, for having me. So, yeah, like I said, like I didn't take that literally. I took it as just kind of this kind of ironic thing that, when he expresses such moral and political clarity is when you decide to rein him in and suggest that he's gone off the rails. He didn't mean it literally, of course. But this is kind of interesting. So this is kind of, when you look at what led directly in to that previous rant here, which starts here.
Mouse game, people are like, we'll elect the Democrats next time. And it's like, but it's all the same shit has been happening.
When you look at what came before that, it's kind of interesting. They were talking about, and oddly enough, it's Rogan who brings up to Theo Von what a murderous madman Christopher Columbus was. And they start talking about colonization and conquest and genocide. And that kind of flows into Theo's rant there when then Joe kind of pulls him back. So let's take a look at this.
Off that shit, bro. He was off that shit, bro. For sure.
Chris Coe was off that shit, bro. That is a great line.
Chris Coe was off that shit, bro. He was off that shit, bro.
Chris Coe was off that shit, bro. So, yeah, so that it's talking about Christopher Columbus. Should write a history book. Chris Coe was off that shit, bro. That's a great title. That's a great title for a book. That should be a book, no doubt about it. That's amazing. Chris Coe was off that shit, bro. All right, so they get talking about Chris Coe being off that shit, bro. And then Rogan must have read at least some of this book, People's History, or had somebody explain it to him, because anybody who's read this book knows it's most famous, I would say, for the first chapter, where the brutality of the European explorers is laid out in extraordinarily disturbing and upsetting detail. And Rogan references some of that here regarding Chris Coe being off that shit, bro.
That shit, bro. He was off that shit,
bro.
For sure.
Did you ever read the things that Christopher Columbus did when they came to America?
He was a boss, I heard.
He was an evil man.
Was he?
Oh, my God.
Oh.
They would cut people's arms off if they didn't bring them the right amount of gold. They were killing babies. Like, they did some horrific.
That's right in this book. That's right in People's History. It's one of the things I remember when I read this book for jumping out at me. That, yeah, they would make the people bring them a certain amount of gold. And I forget exactly what they would do. They would award them with something if they brought in enough gold that they would like wear on their person. And if you didn't have this on your person, it meant you weren't bringing them enough gold. And yeah, they'd hack your arm off. Really, like, horrifying shit. Horrifying shit. If you haven't read this, it's obviously a must read. That's why my copy is as beat up as it is. Because with my ADHD, it takes me so long to read a book like this from cover to cover that by the time I do, it's torn to shreds. But, yep, that's all in here.
Horrific shit, man.
Huh.
They did horrific shit to the people that they found. Because they found these people had gold. And, they... Like, if you think about how crazy it is that Mexico speaks Spanish. You know how crazy that is? You know how crazy it is? That's so far away from Spain.
Oh, that's a good point.
They all speak Spanish and
Good
they're
point.
Catholic.
That's a good point. It is a good point. It's a good point. Not something you think of immediately, but yeah, it is.
You know how crazy it is? That's so far away from Spain.
Oh, that's a good point.
They all speak Spanish and they're Catholic. Gee, where do you think that happened? Cortez.
Yeah.
That motherfucker showed up in the 1500s with like 600 dudes and 12 muskets. They had like 12. They didn't even have musket rifles. They had musket pistols.
He was a boss.
And they took over the whole fucking country.
I know.
Kind of crazy. Like, if you think about all these years later, they all speak Spanish now.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Well, do you think we could do something like that now? Like, what do you think's going to happen,
With
Joe?
Iran?
No, just with, I mean, like, I feel like the shit that's happening out there is going to come here eventually.
Well, most certainly will.
I think the shit that's happening out there is going to come here eventually. And then Rogan says, it most certainly will. And then look where he goes.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Well, do you think we could do something like that now? Like, what do you think's going to happen,
With
Joe?
Iran?
No, just with, I mean, like, I feel like the shit that's happening out there is going to come here eventually.
Well, most certainly will. Yeah.
You know?
I mean, if Homeland Security doesn't stop it in its tracks, and they're doing a great job of...
If Homeland Security doesn't stop it in its tracks and they're doing a great job, no. That's not what Theo was talking about when he says, I fear what they're doing there, they're going to do here. Don't forget, leading into that was talk of the horrors of colonization and genocide and ethnic cleansing. At one point, Theo does bring up Palantir in this podcast and educates Joe about Palantir's role in Gaza. So when Theo says what they're doing there, they're going to do here, and then Joe says, well, thankfully Homeland Security is stopping it. No, that's not where he was going. That's not where he's going. He's definitely misdirecting that.
Spanish now.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Well, do you think we could do something like that now? Like, what do you think's going to happen,
With
Joe?
Iran?
No, just with, I mean, like, I feel like the shit that's happening out there is going to come here eventually.
Well, most certainly will. Yeah.
You know?
I mean, if Homeland Security doesn't stop it in its tracks, and they're doing a great job of preventing a lot of them, you know, there's a lot of things that they catch that you don't even hear about. Terror cells that they infiltrate.
Big Brother is protecting you. It's all for your benefit. It's all for your safety. That's right.
They know there's people in this country. That was the most fucked up thing about people being all nonchalant about the border being wide open for 4 years.
You don't have to say nonchalant with a French accent. You can just say nonchalant. It's like an American word in that way. But here he goes now with the border stuff.
You don't even hear about that are like terror cells that they infiltrate, but they know there's people in this country. That was the most fucked up thing about people being all nonchalant about the border being wide open for 4 years.
Yeah.
Because men of military age entered into this country from foreign countries.
What does that mean? 19-year-olds? What do you mean men of military age? Men, yeah. Some men came in. Some were young. Some were older. Some were what? Teenagers? So what? Military age? Again, this is not what he's talking about.
We have no idea why. We don't know if they're just honest people looking to make a better life for them and their families, send money back home. That'd be best case scenario. But that's not all of them. So what percentage of them are terrorists? What percentage of them? It's not zero.
Yeah, it's just a total non sequitur. It's just totally not what he was talking about when he said they're going to bring here what they're doing there. What he's talking about, what Theo is clearly talking about, was surveillance, brutalization of people, colonization. Look what America is doing to Cuba. We're putting them under siege, just like the Israelis put Gaza under siege after October 7th. Look at Palantir's role in policing from the sky Gaza. Look at the role of AI in targeting suspects, quote unquote. That's all coming here. Palantir is given this massive contract. That's what Theo was talking about. Not talking about military age men crossing the border and thank God for Homeland Security because they're stopping them. That's just a complete, dare I say, deliberate misinterpretation of what he's saying and misdirection of the conversation away from what actually may come across as a cogent critique of colonization and surveillance and genocide.
It ain't zero.
Yeah. But what also, it's like, it's all just a cat and mouse game. People are like, we'll elect the Democrats next time.
And
it's
there
like,
you are.
But it's all the same shit has been happening forever. They haven't been helping anybody forever. They're letting fucking politicians slurp on kids. All of our fucking money goes to Israel, and they're using it to fucking genocide people. It's like everybody is scared out of their wits right now. It's like our religious leaders are afraid to speak out, and it's like it's a time where it's like Satan is amongst us, and our religious leaders are fucking talking about bullshit at the poll. It's just like, what is going? I don't know, man.
We got to get you off those antidepressants.
Now we got to get you off the antidepressants. Okay,
you think I am?
Come hang out with us. Just chill out.
I'm here.
Just chill out at the mothership tonight.
I do have to pee in a little while, but
you can pee.
I'm gonna pee in a minute, man.
We'll let you.
But no, people are just scared, dude. This is
They
shit
won't
that I
let you
hear
in
from
Canada.
people.
They won't let you pee until you give them your guns.
Really?
That's how they're doing it now.
But what if you have to wash the blackface off the president? Can you fucking use a little bit of piss
you know,
to do
Canada
that?
had this big
dude.
And now they're on to
big
the
gun
Canada.
thing.
No, see, now they're off it. Now they're off it. Now they're back in their comfort zone there. So I think that's probably a little bit of what the Autism Capital account was referring to when they picked up on this sort of strange kind of tension. Because, yeah, didn't want to let him cook about the things he was cooking on. But Theo got enough of it across to go viral anyway. And like, you know, they left on good terms. They didn't have a blow up or anything like that, obviously. And the antidepressant thing was not literal. I didn't take it as literal. But yeah, that is an example of a sort of gatekeeping that you kind of sense there, especially since, you know, Rogan led into that with, you know, red pilling Theo Von. The irony is that whole exchange that kind of went viral because of how awkward it was. That whole exchange started because Rogan actually started red pilling him about Columbus and about Cortez. And yeah, I mean, read in that chapter. I mean, it was a near elimination campaign. I forget the exact figures, but I mean, yeah, these explorers came in and they killed almost everybody. They killed almost everybody. That's why you have European languages spoken throughout Central and South America now. It is a legacy of genocide. And then, you know, once Theo picked up the ball and started running with it, at that point, it got shut down and misdirected into talk about Canada's gun policy. Too bad. All right, let's take some super chats and Rumble rants, and then we will be headed over to Rumble for our Q&A. We got a great crowd still in here, 31 strong in the YouTube chat, and we got 958 over on Rumble. Please do smash that subscribe button and come on over to Rumble for the Q&A in just a bit. EO Shush says Trump is the second biggest con in American political history. Number one is the Republican Southern strategy that allowed libertarians to dismantle the New Deal and kill the middle class. That was, yeah, I mean, that was in a way, yeah, I will give you that was probably more sophisticated. But in terms of just compressing everything into a expedited timeline, I got to say this one. I got to say it goes to this one. And by modern political history, I mean, we're kind of talking about like from that era on. I don't know where you draw the line at modern. I guess it depends how old you are. But when I think of modern, yeah, I think of actually like post-civil rights era. So depending on where you draw the line, I guess. SASR says you are doing awesome, Mr. Keaton. I hope Russell Davular stays safe. Well, thank you, SASR. Appreciate that very much. Keaton, you're kicking ass. Oh, thank you, Michael Steele. Keep it up. Please tell Russell that I wanted to wish him safe travels. You and Kurt will be dynamite together. I can't stop thinking of my trip to NYC. We are all Persia. That's right. Thank you, Michael, very much. And yeah, no, trust me. I mean, I think I'll get to everybody. We got a lot of shows to put together. So I got guests, hosts in mind. We'll get to everybody. We got a lot of stuff on the way. We got Kit Cabello sitting in on Tuesday. Oh, by the way, so Jose Vega looks like he's going to get to debate Michael Blake. And hopefully Richie Torres. Richie Torres has been invited to a debate. I don't know if he'll show up or not. But Michael Blake has apparently agreed to debate Jose Vega. And so we're looking at doing probably a doubleheader stream on Tuesday, where I'll do the show with Kit, and then we'll live stream the debate at 6 o'clock Eastern. It'll be a 90-minute debate. I got to figure out how to put that together. But yeah, no, we'll get to everybody. I know we got Kit on Tuesday, and then I got Rex Jones coming in on Thursday. And then from there, it is to be announced, not to be determined. I have some guest slots lined up already, but don't worry, we'll get everybody in here. It's a big family in here. Vienticus Prime. Once I saw my ex at the other end of a museum exhibit. I wanted to talk to her, but I couldn't. There was too much history between us. Ha! Good one. I like that one. Thank you, Vienticus. Appreciate that. My real name. Where is Pasta these days? I liked him when he hosted the Jimmy Dore show. Pasta's still working. Pasta's still grooving. Still making it happen. Gator Pete. Thanks to $10. I get it. My first go is YouTube, but I hear you, but comfort doesn't equal strength. You have to suffer somehow to appreciate what you have. The yin and the yang is what we used to fight for. Our breath. Love you, Vito. Oh, that's very nice, Gator Pete. Thank you. Dave K. BSC. Have Rachel Blevins on the show. She's been a great on Ukraine and Iran wars, but I've rarely seen her outside her own show. Yeah, I've never been in contact with Rachel Blevins, but that is an idea. I like that idea. So thank you for that. Yep, she does very good work. Indeed. EO Shush. At this point, I think Rogan is compromised, not the Epstein kind, but Palantir. Those dick pics he sent to that female comedian who will be ashamed of the public and your wife have found out. I don't necessarily think so. I mean, I don't. There's no way of knowing. But no, I don't have those. He seems like a nice person, to be honest with you. Like, he seems like probably a good guy. I think, look, man, I noticed this about his commentary when he got the Spotify deal. When you get paid a boatload of money, even if you're a nice guy, even if you're a good guy, I think somewhere in you kind of feel a need to justify that kind of wealth. You kind of feel a need to justify that level of wealth accumulation without feeling like you're part of the problem, you know? And I've noticed that, like, you know, since he got that big deal, like, the thrust of his political commentary is how, like, rich people deserve to be rich and how you shouldn't treat them too harshly because rich people aren't bad. I've just noticed that as kind of an undercurrent. And I'm not a habitual listener. Like, I don't listen every episode. I listen when there's a guest on who I like. And I've definitely noticed that as kind of a shift. But yeah, no, I don't think Rogan is like a bad person. I don't get that sense from him at all. And I know he treats comics really well at his club and gives them a great venue, and that's rare. Like, that's hard. Like, you're a working artist, either music or stand up or anything. You're used to fucking dogging it for shit pay and shit venues and shit treatment. You know, a lot of these fucking the ownership class in the artist world can be really scummy. And so, you know, he seems to really not be scummy in that way. So I'll say that for him. I think his political direction since he took that money is reflective of a guy who took a lot of money and is worth a lot of money. Like, that's my take on Joe Rogan. I don't speculate beyond that. Stoop sign. Like 4 months ago, Israel made a campaign to get Theo to try and whack himself. That is dark. Joe is friends with Kerp. That was a 1/100th of a Kerp rant. 1/100th of a Kerp rant. Thank you. EO Shush. Rogan spent years trying to find Bigfoot. Now he's calling people crazy for thinking Palantir is involved in the genocide that has been broadcast to the world in 4K in real time. Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, you know, he's indulged thoughts a lot crazier than that. And now he's like, yeah, when the Palantir thing came up, he's like, well, this is a biased source, right? Yeah, I probably should have included that, but I tend to err on the side of focusing the pieces, maybe to a fault. Maybe I should have included that. But we're at 3 hours anyway, even with my trimming. So only Europeans were brutal? Grow the fuck up, you child. Did I say only Europeans were brutal? Like, did I say that? Like, you have to listen to what's actually said rather than just like project what you wish I had said so you could own me. Like if I had said that, that would be a legit response, because I did not say only Europeans are brutal. I did not say that. I did not say that. So go and rewind the tape. Thanks for the donation. Appreciate the constructive feedback. Always good to have constructive criticism. But I did not say only Europeans were brutal. I do not think only Europeans were brutal. Citing the fact that the European settlers in the Americas were brutal does not logically mean that I said only Europeans are brutal. So better luck next time, my friend. Thank you for your support. JD and Kurt still have their lips glued to Rogan's behind. Like I said, they're friends, you know. What are you going to do? Whoa, super ironic. Their South Pars gas field is actually located north of Qatar's North Field. Mind blown. The South Pars gas field is located north of Qatar's North Field. Mind blown. EO shush. Unless Joe was talking about Jewish men of military age with billions of dollars and blackmail to control the media and politicians in America, then he was right about the border. Ponce de Leon was a genocidist too. Oh yeah, they were all brutal. They were all brutal, man. It was horrible. Horrible. Very upsetting. I remember reading that when I was a teenager, man. And just, yeah, really. I mean, you know, you always, like when you read your school book for like American history, you read that, yeah, these were brilliant explorers who discovered America. And yeah, they did some bad things to some of the Indians. But the overall presentation of these people is as, you know, heroic discoverers of great things. They don't put the emphasis where the emphasis should obviously lie, which is in just how awful is not the word. It's beyond words what they did to the native peoples. And yeah, it's all there. First chapter of People's History. It's a long chapter, about 45 pages. And it is very, very eye-opening, very upsetting. Whoa, super ironic. South Pars gas field, oh, I think we got that one already, is actually located north of Qatar's North Field. Mind blown. Jew on the go. Hey, Keaton, I have a cowbell and or a prayer bell, just like the one Russ got. That'll be glad to give you. Oh, thank you very much. That's not necessary, though. I could get one. I could get one. You know, I can get one. I can get one overnighted here. But that is very kind of you to offer. Just let me know where to send it. Thank you for the offer. But I will get one. We could put that on the company card. We can spare that expense. But thank you though. Trying to think. Did I forget to do anything? I don't think so. I think we got everything done. All right. You know what that means? That's our show, everybody. Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate you all. We are going to head to Rumble after a 5-minute intermission here. Appreciate you all very much for being here. We will be back on the air Tuesday, 1 p.m. Eastern with Kit Cabello, and then we'll be broadcasting the Jose Vega debate that evening. So thank you all very much for being here with us. EO Shush says, thanks, Keaton, for manning the ship while Russ is out. Well, thank you all for being here. Great crowd in here tonight. Thanks, everybody, for spending your Easter Sunday evening with us. Thanks to the YouTubers. Thanks to the Rumblers. Thanks to the mods for keeping the peace in the chat. Patrons, paid Substack subscribers, and paid Locals members are invited to form a call-in queue right now. We will pause for a 5-minute intermission while we head over to Rumble. Even if you're not a paid member, all are welcome to hang around in the chat and watch along to the Q&A. DoDissidents.com/Rumble is the link. Thanks, everybody, for being here tonight. Thanks to Jake in the booth. We will see you in 5 minutes if you're sticking around for Q&A. If you're not, we'll see you Tuesday afternoon, 1 p.m. Eastern. Until then, be safe and be well. Courage.
Please clap. Bye.